Well, our dear viewers, that has been the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Honorable CS Rebecca Miano, who had appeared before the Senate plenary last week, Wednesday, to answer questions in regards to the strengthening and boosting of the tourism sector that had been asked by senators pursuant to the provisions of the standing orders that require cabinet secretaries to appear before the House plenary. So away from that, this morning we equally expect a number of cabinet secretaries to appear before the Senate. But before I tell you who those cabinet secretaries are, the report of the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Accra, Ghana from the 30th of September to the 6th of October 2023 is a motion lined up for resumption of debate this afternoon. This particular caucus that represented Kenya in the Republic of Ghana was led by nominated Senator Professor Margaret Kamar. And this morning, we expect a resumption of debate in regards to the conclusion of that parliamentary conference in Accra, Ghana. Equally, the House this morning is set to debate a motion by Honorable Senator for Nyandarua County, Honorable John Methu. The motion pertains the report of the 9th Interparliamentary Union, IPU Global Conference of Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam from the 15th to the 17th of September 2023. This morning, the Senator for Isiolo, Senator Fatuma Dulo, seeks to have the House and motion number 15 on the stoppage of funds to Isiolo County due to failure by the governor to honor Senate summons. And in the motion, the Senator for Isiolo County seeks to have the House resolve that pursuant to Section 228, subsection 4 and 5 of the Constitution, the control of budget shall not authorize any withdrawal of public funds by the county government of Isiolo until such a time when the governor has responded to issues raised in the summons to the satisfaction of the Senate. And equally, that the National Treasury, pursuant to Article 225 of the Constitution and Section 96 of the Public Finance Management Act, do stop forthwith the transfer of funds to the county government of Isiolo. So that is among the motions lined up for debate this afternoon. The leader of the majority party is expected this morning to table about 35 reports from the office of the Auditor General in regards to how various county governments utilized monies allocated to them for the year ended 30th of June 2023. Remember, like I had begun by telling you, our dear viewers, on Wednesday morning, we usually have a section or a session where cabinet secretaries appear before the Senate. And today, we'll be expecting the CS for East African Community, EAC, and the ASALs and Regional Development, who will be appearing before the Senate this morning. The CS will be answering questions from Senator Julius Murgol. This is the Senator for West Pokot County, who wants to understand from the EAC Cabinet Secretary the details of the socio-economic activities carried out by the Kerio Valley Development Authority, KVDA, in the West Pokot County. The Senator for West Pokot County also wants to know how many residents of the county have been employed by the Kerio Valley Development Authority on permanent and pensionable terms, as well as on a temporary basis, respectively. And lastly, could the Cabinet Secretary state when the irrigation of residents' farms will commence as promised by the government during the construction of the dam? The other CS set to appear before Senate plenary this morning is the Interior CS for matters Interior and National Administration, Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki, and the CS for National Treasury, Honorable John Mbadi. Our dear viewers, the Speaker's procession has already made its way into the chamber this morning. Allow me to hand over for this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Gladys Mungai. Have yourself a good morning.
Tukusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Tukuomba tuwajalie tuyatende na kufikia mambo yote atakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The quorum bell at the Senate is on ring mode, following the directives by the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Kingi, who is currently presiding over the business of the Senate. And this 10 minutes leeway is to give senators some few minutes to make their way into the chamber this morning rather. The various cabinet secretaries that will be appearing before the Senate plenary this morning, allow me to take you through some of the issues that are set to be addressed. The CS for Interior, Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki, will be answering a number of questions from equally a number of senators. The senator for Murang'a County, Senator John Yotu, wants the cabinet secretary to explain why Mr. Joseph Odhiambo Ochoro of service number 52775 was verbally and without disciplinary hearing dismissed from the Kenya Police Service, despite his mother reporting his illness, which was the cause of his absence from duty, to Kisii Prison. The senator for Murang'a also wants to know when will the irregular dismissal be reversed and the officer reinstated, and whether there are internal mechanisms that Kenya Prison Service has put in place for appeals against dismissals from the service, and could the cabinet secretary explain the measures put in place to ensure appeals are dealt with a fairly and without undue delay. Away from the senator for Murang'a, the senator for Nairobi County has a couple of questions for the CS for National Treasury and Economic Planning. Senator Sifuna wants to know from a CS, Honorable Mbadi, what has occasioned the failure by e-citizen digital platforms to process and reflect payments made by some institutions, such as the National Health Insurance Fund, popularly known as NHIF, and could the cabinet secretary explain steps being taken to remedy the situation? The senator for Nairobi also wants to understand where does the convenience fees charged and other payments that fail to reflect on the platform end up. And finally, Honorable Mbadi will be required to report on the safety, efficiency, efficacy, and reliability of the eCitizen digital platform in the light of the numerous complaints of delays and technical issues that followed the onboarding of a significant number of government services on the platform. The Senator for Kirinyaga County, Senator James Murango, would want to know a couple of issues from the CS Interior, among them the mitigation measures and intervention that the Disaster Management Unit and other relevant government agencies have taken to address the current flood situation in Kirinyaga County, especially in Mwea constituency, in the Guku village in Ndia constituency. And could the Cabinet Secretary also provide specific details on the extent of flooding in Kirinyaga County and how many people need humanitarian assistance and the level of funding allocated by the government for humanitarian aid? And lastly, the specific challenges faced in providing aid to the affected population and the role played by the different stakeholders, specifically the Red Cross Society of Kenya and both the national and county governments of Kirinyaga that have assisted those affected by the floods. These questions were asked during the flooding situation that was experienced in the country, and we'll be expecting to hear from the CS Interior on the measures that have been put in place to protect farmers moving forward. Senator Dan Maonzo, the Senator for Makueni County, wants the CS Interior to provide a list of persons who lost their lives during the protest over the high cost of living in June and July 2023, indicating the specific localities in the country where the said deaths occurred, as well as the times and the dates. What disciplinary actions have been taken against the police officers who brutally assaulted unarmed civilians? And finally, CS Maanzo wants to know from CS Kindiki whether there has been...
Order, honorable senators, we do have quorum now. Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, the 2nd of October, 2024. 1. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Annual Report for the period ended 30th June 2024. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2022 of the following. 1. Bungoma County Referral Hospital, County Government of Bungoma. Kimilili Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Bungoma. Webuye Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Bungoma. Moyale Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Marsabit. Annex Hospital, Nakuru Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Soin Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2023 of the following counties. Lodwar County Referral Hospital, County Government of Turkana. Lokitwang Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Turkana. Lopiding Level 4 Hospital in Turkana. Sigor Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in West Pokot. Chepareria Level 4 Hospital in West Pokot. Kilifi County Referral Hospital in Kilifi. Gede Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kilifi. Jibana Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kilifi. Malindi Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kilifi. Ahero County Level 4 Hospital in Kisumu. Ruambwa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Siaya. Mukuyuni Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Makueni. Tawa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Makueni, Mandera County Referral Hospital in Mandera, Lafay Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Mandera, Samburu County Teaching and Referral Hospital in Samburu, Iten County Referral Hospital in Elgeyo Marakwet, Nyeri Provincial General Hospital in Nyeri, Wajir County Referral Hospital in Wajir, Katulani Level 4 Hospital in Kitui, Matitu Sub-County Hospital in Kitui, Mwingi Level 4 Hospital in Kitui, Moyale Level 4 Hospital in Marsabit, Kericho County Referral Hospital Level 5 in Kericho, Sigawet Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kericho, Kapkatet Sub-County Level 4 in Kericho, Londiani Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kericho, and Roret Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kericho. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, honorable senators, we expected 3 CSs this morning for purposes of responding to the questions as contained in the order paper today. However, the question addressed to the CS, ESC, and ASALs shall be deferred pursuant to a letter that was addressed to the clerk and made available to SBC when SBC sat yesterday. We did deliberate on that particular letter and found it reasonable that the CS will not be in a position to attend today's session for purposes of responding to question number 91. So that question is deferred. Again, we had expected the Minister for Interior and National Administration, the Honorable Kindiki, to appear for purposes of responding to 8 questions. During the sitting of SBC yesterday, all indications were that the CS would be available. However, yesterday afternoon, we received a communication from the CS indicating that he will not be in a position to attend, as he shall be attending to a security matter outside Nairobi. You're all aware that CS Kindik has faithfully endeavored to appear before this Senate, and his request to appear on the 3rd and 4th week of this month is reasonable, and therefore those 8 questions shall also be deferred. Present this morning is the CS in charge of Treasury, and the 4 questions that are directed to the ministry, and therefore we will proceed to take these 4 questions, and thereafter other business of the Senate shall flow. Clerk, can you usher in the CS in charge of Treasury, please? CS Treasury, welcome to the Senate. You're a seasoned parliamentarian. I need not take you and walk you through the procedures in this House. Welcome to the Senate. Now, we have 4 questions that are directed to the CS Treasury. The first question is question number 021 by the Senator for Nairobi City County, the Honorable Senator Edwin Sifuna. Honorable Senator, you may now proceed to ask your question.
Morning, Honorable Speaker. Perhaps just some guidance on how we treat witnesses before they take the stand. Is that not necessary this morning?
Pardon?
Is it not necessary to treat the witness properly before they start answering questions?
By treating the witnesses, what do you mean, Senator?
Not T, so subjecting them to Article 125, Honorable Speaker. But it's up to you.
Well, this is not the first time we are having such a session. we shall proceed as we always do.
Very well, Honorable Speaker. It's just that out of abundance of caution, we require that people be put under oath for the truthfulness to come out. It's a terrible time for truthful men. Honorable Speaker, the question to the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the National Treasury and Economic Planning. Number one, what has occasioned the failure by the eCitizen digital platform to process and reflect payments made to some institutions such as the National Health Insurance Fund? This is a defunct NHIF, Honorable Speaker, and could the Cabinet Secretary explain steps taken to remedy the situation? Number two, where does the convenience fee charged and all other payments that fail to reflect on the platform end up? Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary report on the safety, efficiency, efficacy, and reliability of the eCitizen digital payment platform in light of the numerous complaints of delays and technical issues that followed the onboarding of significant number of government services on the platform? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Honorable Speaker of the Senate, I want to thank you and begin by saying that it's really refreshing to be back here wearing a different cap. Mr. Speaker, you may recall we were with you in the 10th Parliament, that the better part of the 10th Parliament we spent in this chamber as the other one was being renovated. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, again allow me to register my apologies, because last time I was supposed to appear before the Senate, I got engaged and I didn't appear before the Senate. I want to just point out that I was so prepared to come and answer to these questions on that day, up to the last evening to the day, when now His Excellency the President gave the nod that he would meet the World Bank team that was here and just had a few hours left to leave the country, led by the Vice President of the World Bank. And so that is why I wrote a letter late to request that the session be, or my appearance be rescheduled to another date. It was in no way trying to undermine the responsibility of this House in terms of discharging its mandate as an oversighting institution. I have been around here for 17 years and I know the value of the two houses in oversighting the executive. I wouldn't have done anything to the contrary. In fact, 2 days before the scheduled date, I appeared before Senate Committee on Finance and Budget on a matter touching on my ministry. And even after that, I again appeared before Senate Committee on Transport, again answering questions relating to issues touching on my ministry. So, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to start from there. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, allow me now to respond to the question, that is question number 021 by the Senator for Nairobi City County, Senator Edwin Sifuna, who asked me to address 3 pertinent issues relating to eCitizen digital platform. And also I will answer the other questions, but it is question 021 that I'm responding to. The Senator wanted to know what occasioned the failure by the eCitizen digital platform to process and reflect payments made to some institutions such as the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, and could the Cabinet Secretary also explain steps taken to remedy the situation? And this is my response, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, payments to eCitizen platform are made in designated and defined formats. This format is defined in the system, and for any payment to succeed, it needs to follow the format expected by the system. For instance, if an NHIF member is paying for the monthly contribution and the national ID number is, for example, 11223344, this is just an example of what could be an ID number, then the payment format to be keyed into the system will be NHIF M 11223344. Any payment which does not conform to this format will definitely be unsuccessful. Therefore, it is important for any person making any payment to follow the prescribed format so that the payment is successful on the platform. As part of the adoption, we always insist that any MDA on the e-citizen platform should train and sensitize its members or customers on the procedure of making payments on e-citizen platform. The National Treasury is working with ministries, departments, and agencies to create awareness, literacy on use of digital services, and sensitize the public on the use and adoption of the e-citizen digital platform. This is an ongoing exercise where periodic trainings and sensitization programs are being conducted. On question number 2, where the senator for Nairobi City County wanted to know, and actually this is the question, where does the convenience fee charged and all other payments that fail to reflect on the platform end up? And this is my response, Honorable Speaker. The e-citizen platform only collects convenience fee for successful transactions. When a user or citizen makes a payment, the payment will be collected first by the payment service providers channels, which include mobile money for mobile network operators, RTGS, and e-deposits for banks or wallets for non-bank payment service providers. So the e-money is then channeled to e-citizen collection account at Kenya Commercial Bank. If a payment fails, then transaction details and monies, that is payment amount and convenience fees, are retained by payment service provider, which reverses the transaction, and e-citizen platform would be notified. The convenience fee is collected by the e-citizen platform and remitted to the e-citizen settlement account domiciled at the National Treasury. So that is the response in terms of where the convenience fee would fall if the platform fails. Number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary report on the safety, efficiency, efficacy, and reliability of the e-citizen digital payment platform in light of the numerous complaints of delays and technical issues that followed the onboarding of a significant number of government services on the platform? Mr. Speaker, again, this is my response. The e-citizen platform has witnessed tremendous growth owing to the onboarding of over 16,000 services from the previous 397 services, especially with the coming in of the new government in 2022. The services increased from 397 to 16,000. The rapid growth came with a lot of challenges to the platform, which the multi-ministerial team has been able to address. The multi-ministerial team comprises of the National Treasury, Ministry of Interior, and Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy. So far, through the Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy, as the technology advisor and implementer, the platform information security has been built and implemented to ensure it is secure against cyber terrorism, hacking, and compromises which are likely to disrupt the provision of services to the e-citizen. The e-citizen platform has withstood several cyber attempts made by hackers, with efforts arising from continuous platform vulnerability risk assessment. The multi-ministerial team has Security Operations Center, SOC, which continuously monitors status of systems and applications and ensures any attack is responded to immediately. There were some challenges encountered during the rapid onboarding of the services. However, the e-citizen has been able to address significant portions of those challenges to stabilize the platform. Currently, the platform is very robust and has immensely improved service delivery to citizens, processing approximately 120,000 transactions daily. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted just to add that if you look at even in terms of robustness, the growth, the 2022-2023 financial year, we were able to collect only 26 million 26 billion 406 million through this platform. The following financial year, when we moved full blast to e-Citizen, 2023-24, we are able to collect 100 billion 842 million. So in 1 year, the collections improved from 26 billion to 100 billion. We have managed to reduce leakages in the system. Having single pay bill of 22222 has worked very well, and visibility of our transactions has been enhanced. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Honorable Senator from Nairobi City County, you may now proceed to ask your 2 supplementary questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a problem of having this engagement now 1 year down the line when a lot has changed, because this question is 1 year old. So I would want the Cabinet Secretary to tell this House, now that we have moved from NHIF to SHIF and the Social Health Authority, are payments to the Social Health Authority or to SHIF also going to be integrated with e-Citizen, or is there going to be a different platform for payments to the Social Health Insurance Fund? And secondly, Honorable Speaker, I would want the Cabinet Secretary to explain to me or to this House the justification for the convenience fee, which essentially is you are paying for a service and you are being charged money for that service. So for instance, if you are emitting your monthly premiums for NHIF, what is the justification for that convenience fee, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the policy of the government presently is that any service that is provided should go through this standard system, e-Citizen. Actually, there was a reason, a justification why we went e-Citizen, because the public was complaining a lot about how it was inconvenient to use different platforms to collect. So even the new Social Health Authority must now use the e-Citizen platform. On the issue of the justification for convenience fee, I want to say that this is a fee that is paid to the service provided so that we don't again end up with complicated accounting where the money that is meant for the actual service is the one that is now again being prorated and paying the service provider. But again, I want to also point out that unlike previously, when there was a standard amount for the convenience fee, right now through a Gazette notice of December 22nd, 2023, we have prorated, so to speak, so that if the service is costing more, then the convenience fee also rises. If it is low, then the convenience fee is low. Like, for example, from 200 shillings, anything below 199 shillings, you only pay 5 shillings. Anything, and it is the figures are provided there, I don't want to go into the, anything above 1,000, then you pay 50 shillings. So the 50 shillings is the highest, which used to be the standard fee previously before this Gazette notice. And then the dollar-denominated account is $1 as the highest. So that, in short, would be the justification for the convenience fee. But again, this is an interministerial discussion that gave rise to this convenience fee chargeable. It was not a decision of my ministry as such, but it is a government decision. Thank you.
Honorable CS, if I heard Senator Sifuna correctly, It is not about the amount that is being charged. It is, why is it being charged? What is the justification for the 5 shilling, for the 10 shillings, for the 50 shillings? Why do citizens have to pay a convenience fee? That's what the Honorable Senator was asking, not really the amount you pay per service.
From the name convenience, it is a convenience fee. Mr. Speaker, when you use the e-citizen platform payment system, it is convenient. And you see there is already fee that would have ordinarily have been charged for these services. But now you are using a different platform, which is more convenient to the user, and so we charge the convenience fee, which ends up with the provider of the service. If honorable members have a problem with that, then that is a feedback that can be given to the government, and I stand here for the government. But I would again repeat that this is not a decision by National Treasury as a ministry. It must be interministerial. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me appreciate the the CS for Finance. And I've just noted that he's lost a lot of weight. I'm offering to give him a goat so he can gain it a little bit. But I thank him for coming and to responding to this matter. Senator Sifuna has asked a very important question. I used to sit in the Public Accounts Committee, and this issue came up for discussion when the Auditor General had raised the concern that the government may not have full control of the e-citizen platform. I've listened to the response given by the Cabinet Secretary, and I want some further clarification on a few issues. Number one, does the government have control of this e-citizen platform? The Cabinet Secretary has also alluded to the fact that the 50 shilling is paid to, and I believe it is paid to the creator of e-citizen. I think his name is James Ayugi, who is the CEO of Webmaster. This amount of 50 shillings that you've now sort of like scaled it based on the amount of money which is being paid to the government, is this system going to be leased forever, or was it developed in a BOT kind of method, where after some time it is transferred to the government? Because if this e-citizen platform is managed by the ICT authority, but it is being leased from Webmaster, at what point is the government of Kenya going to have full control of this e-citizen? And finally, still on that question,
Honorable Olekina,
the same question.
You are only entitled to one supplementary question.
It is one question, but with different elements.
No.
ABC.
No. You've already done 2 questions. Leave it at that.
Mr. Speaker, please, this is a very important element of that question.
I know every question being asked is very important.
And tomorrow or next Wednesday, I'll restrict myself to just one area. I'll organize my thoughts properly. So allow me to just add this D to complete it, Mr. Speaker.
Conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now you've made me lose my thoughts. Now let me try and see what I can remember. This system, was it developed on a BOT model, or was it developed to be leased entirely in perpetuity? Because then it begs the question as to why the government will then sit down and adjust the figures of the 50 shillings. And how much have we paid? Have we audited this Webmaster to know how much money they take on an annual basis? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni, Honorable CS, note down those questions. We are going to take a few from about 5 senators, and then we proceed to respond to them at a go. Senator Boni.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to congratulate my brother Mbadi. It's been a long walk, him and I, elsewhere, and I'm happy that you are where you are. Mr. Speaker, on the question of quantum, the piece of paper that is called a birth certificate is more or less the same quality like a logbook these days. So what is the justification for the quantum? You find you lose a logbook, you pay 20,000 for that piece of paper. A birth certificate, same quality of paper, 500 shillings. Can you justify why we are paying so much money for the quality of paper that you call a logbook, for the quality of paper that you call a birth certificate? When you look, Mr. Speaker, at something like a national identity card, probably the quality of the hard copy could justify the cost. Could you convince me about this quantum? And then finally, I know this might not be a question, but see how you can handle it. Parents are not able to afford 500 shillings in the rural areas for those birth certificates. What will be your advice to government, now that you're full of energy, about the need for us to remove charges on birth certificates?
Senator Muma. Senator Muma.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity to ask this question. Honorable Speaker, my question to CS, and before I even ask the question, I wish to welcome the CS to the Senate. The CS is my former chairman in our party, and I wish to welcome you here, and to wish you well. We have the confidence that you will add value to the ministry that you have gone to and enable this country to move forward from where it is. So be assured that we have the confidence you will do what you're required to do. Honorable CS, my question is, have you put in place any mechanism to conduct an audit of the NHIF funds in order to account to the people of Kenya on the funds they have been putting in NHIF, which purportedly is wound up as at yesterday? Allow me to explain, Honorable CS. There are people who prepaid for health insurance at the beginning of the year. They are now being told they can no longer use the NHIF card. How has this been transitioned, and has a special audit is a special audit being carried out of the accounts of NHIF to ensure accountability for every cent that the citizens have put in that institution?
Senator Okanyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This one is a bit related to the National Health Insurance Fund. First, I wish to congratulate the Cabinet Secretary and also ask why hospitals are still owed money by the defunct body, yet money had already been deducted through people's contributions, and how much is the outstanding debt? Thank you.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm using the dispatch because I wanted to be able to see my brother and see how the transition is shaping up. I can see him, he's doing well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, My question is a general question on the whole issue of the e-citizen platform. Mheshimiwa CS, I come from Kitui with very, very huge areas that have zero mobile network connectivity. The people that live in those areas are Kenyans, and they need government services, some of which have got to be paid for. Now, here's a situation on a CS where there are people, not just in Kitui, but in other parts of this country, that desire and deserve to access government services, but for mistakes not of their own, they are unable to access the services because of zero mobile network connectivity. My question is, well, I see what the government is trying to do is a noble thing, but a bit absurd, because we are trying to run before we can walk. Should it then the beginning be, we ensure mobile network connectivity in every part of this country, so then people can be required to use e-citizen. And I say this fully aware that the Treasury is the one that allocates money for such universal coverage. Bwana CS, are you considering as a ministry to make those finances available and be part of a multi-agency team of ministries that will ensure the connectivity first before you can demand people to use e-citizen to access government services? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond to those first set of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I captured questions from 4 senators. I missed one, and unfortunately, I may need even to get to know the name of the senator. But from the answers that I'll give, Mr. Speaker, you will know the senator whose questions I didn't pick. Actually, it was one question. And unfortunately, she's a lady, and no bias is only that I didn't pick it. So
referring to Senator Essie Okenyuri.
Exactly. So the question, I think, if you don't mind, will be repeated so that I come back to it. But let me address the questions that I captured. First is from Senator for Narok, Ledama. Senator, Honorable Speaker, this system has now been handed over to the government fully. And it is being operated under contractual arrangement with ICT Authority, which is like the department driving. So the money that we collect, all the monies, including convenience fee, is collected by ICT, is collected by government. We pay it to ICT Authority, which then pay the service provider. So the service provider does not collect any money for us. The money is paid to the government. I think that should be very clear. So we have a contract of about 3 years. The details of this contract, the framework, could be provided by the line ministry, which is the one that is responsible for the technical aspect of it. But it is a 3 years contract, after which then the government will evaluate whether the system would be continued or we are getting a new system. So it is a 3 years contract, it's not in perpetuity. On the questions by Honorable Senator Boni Alwali, online ministries determining the fees charged, that's what I would say. Because logbook, birth certificate, the fees that are charged are actually determined by the line ministries. The justification around it, I may not have the full facts. Why logbooks maybe and birth certificates are charged the same and the quality is different it could be answered more appropriately by the line ministries, because they're the ones who design and determine how much is charged. As part of government, I would only take the feedback to my colleagues. If there is a concern from people's representatives of the charges in terms of the high charges, it is a feedback I would take with me. But I want to just also put it that as people's representative, I know you also have the mandate, and by the way, you have the capacity even to invite the line ministries which charge these amounts and engage, interrogate, and even recommend that the charges be reduced or even taken off if that would be the most desirable route to take. Senator Muma, Catherine, whether we have conducted audits of the NHIF funds, no, we haven't, but we are transitioning to a new authority, but I'm sure that the Auditor General will audit NHIF to find out the closure. As Treasury, which is also responsible for ensuring transparency and accountability and management generally of public funds, we can also conduct audit using our internal audit team, but as of now, we haven't conducted audit. That is a task that can still be conducted. On Senator Wambua's question, I agree. Many areas of this country still don't even have network connectivity. As any system, once you roll it out is where you discover teething problems or challenges, so to speak. And these are some of the challenges. The rollout has been very smooth, but there are challenges with areas which don't have network. Government has a very robust program to roll out network connectivity across the country. And there is already a special fund allocated to the Communications Authority to be able to carry out this rollout. Mr. Speaker, the only questions I missed was from the Senator. If with your permission, it can be repeated, then maybe I may take it together with any other subsequent questions, or if it is the last one, then I will take it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm surprised the CS has forgotten his colleague, or it's because he crossed to the other side. I'm Senator Okenyuri Esther, and the question I had was touching on Senator Sifuna mentioned about payments that are being done to NHIF, and I rose to ask why hospitals are still being owed money by the defunct body, yet people had already been deducted money through the contributions that have been done by them, and how much is the outstanding debt? Thank you.
Senator Mohammed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to congratulate our CS, Karibu Sana. My question to the CS is about NHIF payments. And I know you are new there, you've just joined the Treasury, but I wanted you to note that we have a problem. There is an engineer from Marsabit, Engineer Wako Guyo, who died on 24th November 2020, and his final dues were tabulated and referred to the Treasury. It's about 15 million shillings. And this is not the only case with the engineer Wako. It is across the problem which is across this country. I know you are an efficient cabinet secretary, and I know you're going to make a lot of changes. I wanted to know what the CS can do. I want you to note down the name of the engineer on how to settle these payments. It is from 2020, and we are in 2024. He has children who are going to school. He has children who has failed to pay university fees. And this is not only him. This is across this country. What can the CS do to alleviate the situation of our people under this situation? Thank you very much.
Now, honorable senators, the supplementary questions that they're asking must be related to the primary question. Stand guided. Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to also ask a question. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to first of all congratulate the CS for joining our government in the broad-based arrangement. And my question, Mr. Speaker, sir, is will the CS tell us if he has any plan to reintroduce the Huduma number and synchronize it to the e-citizen functions, so that when it comes to matters that are transacted by the citizens, especially the compensation of land issues, which has been one of the main corruption challenges in this country, whether we can be able to synchronize the Huduma number, the e-citizen, and capture the values of those compensations which are made vis-a-vis having a unified approach, so that you do not have different values for land when they are being sold by private citizens, but the government ends up paying exorbitant prices for the same pieces of land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me start by congratulating the CS on his new appointment and say that I trust that he will be able to change and transform Treasury for the benefit of the people of Kenya. My question is about NHIF, the pending bills, especially for faith-based hospitals in the country, particularly Bishop Kioko Hospital in Machakos, which NHIF owes them 60 million. Not only Bishop Kioko, but the rest of the hospitals, they are facing a lot of challenges, and yet people go to hospitals and they pay with the NHIF. Those bills are paid, but the money is transmitted to NHIF, but this money never gets back to the hospitals. What are you doing about it, Honorable CS? Because this is really a big challenge, even to our national hospitals. Thank you.
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Swali langu ingawa iko na dosari kidogo na ile umesema hapa, lakini ningeomba tu uniruhusu niweze kuongea ama kuuliza Bwana Waziri kwa sababu anaweza kujibu. Ya kwanza ni kushukuru Waziri wa Hazina na Fedha kwa sababu alipata kiti ambaye ya kusaidia mambo ya fedha na kwa hii serikali ya muungano, na mpaka kulionekana anaweza kufanya hiyo kazi. Bwana Waziri, kwa hivyo nipongezi. Bwana Waziri, swali langu ni katika Embu County, mambo ya fedha huwa imeselewa sana, na unajua tulikubali kwa hii kipindi ya serikali ya muungano kila pesa iwe ikienda county kila mwezi. Lakini Embu County mwezi wa 7, mwezi wa 8 na mwezi wa 9, miezi 3 wanja kuweza kupata pesa, na kumekuwa na maramishi ya mambo ya pending bill na wage bill na mambo ya agriculture. Pia ile shida kubwa sana ni pesa ya kununua dawa. Kwa hiyo ningeomba Bwana Waziri, kama uko na uwezo ya kujibu, hata kama Speaker amesema yes kuwa inafanana zile unaulizwa hapa leo, najua uko na njia ya kujibu hiyo swali, na iende ikawa Embu County peke yake, ni tuko county 47. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Mutinda Tabita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me also to register my remarks by congratulating the Waziri, because he's the first Waziri to appear before this Senate as Waziri of, as a Minister of Finance, because the other one never appeared. My quick question, Waziri, is on the issue of application for the ID cards. ID cards application costs 300 shillings, and ID replacement costs 1,000 shillings. But what is your take as the Minister for Finance for scrapping off completely the cost of anybody acquiring an identity card in this country, because we are all citizens by virtue that we are born in this country, and bring this cost totally to zero. And lastly, who owns eCitizen? And if government owns eCitizen, why then do we have double charge, whereby you have the amount that you are paying, and then still there's an additional cost, as you earlier mentioned, in regards to the processing fee? Then why do we have double cost? But just clarify, who owns eCitizen? Thank you, Speaker.
Senator Veronica Ndwati.
Welcome, Honorable CS, and congratulations on your new appointment. Honorable CS, I want you to tell this House whether there is any plan or strategy to onboard SHIF on eCitizen, and whether the data that is on NHIF can be migrated to SHIF to avoid the cost of running another system to manage that data. Is there any plan, and how soon is that plan going to be rolled out? Onboarding SHIF onto eCitizen.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Waziri, congratulations first for the appointment. My name is Abbas Mohammed, Senator for Wajir, and I share the evolution. Actually, there's a big concern of delay of release of funds to the counties. It takes a long time, almost sometimes up to 4 or 5 months. And as a result of that, counties are forced to get salaries from the banks at a higher cost with a high interest rate. And members, reductions for the social reductions are not submitted in time, and they're given penalties for that delay. I think, I don't know what your ministry is going to do as a result of the delays of salary release, fund release, and also the penalties from KRA and other social reduction, institutions like Love Fund, all this, they also put interest on the delay of the social reductions. So what is the ministry planning to do to curtail that kind of unnecessary penalties that the counties are facing, and why is the for the fund for the counties been delayed so much?
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi pia najiunga na maseneta wenzangu kumkaribisha Waziri John Mbadi katika bunge la Senate, na pia kumpa kongole kwa kuchaguliwa kwake kama waziri katika serikali. Mheshimiwa Spika, dukuduku langu ni kuhusiana na hilo swala la ucheleweshaji wa fedha kwa kaunti zetu, kwa sababu tumeona kwamba baada ya kuondolewa kwa mswada wa fedha wa mwaka 2024-25 kumekuwa na kutofahamu, sitofahamu kuhusu ni vipi wataweza kupeleka pesa katika kaunti zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nakumbuka mwaka 2019 tulikuwa katika hali hii, lakini wakati ule serikali ilikuwa mamlakani ilipeleka asilimia fulani ya fedha kwa kaunti zetu. Kwa hivyo waziri, hebu tueleze ni sababu gani hizi kaunti haziwezi kupewa asilimia fulani mpaka asilimia 50 ya zile fedha ambazo walipewa mwaka jana, ili waweze kutumia na kukidhi mahitaji yao wakati tunangojea sheria mpya itakapokuwa tayari. Asante.
You may proceed to respond. Now, honorable senators, if you look at your order paper, the honorable CS is here for purposes of responding to 4 questions. Now, the question asked by Senator Faki, the question asked by Senator Mundigi, and the question asked by Senator Abbas. Those supplementary questions are related to the question which is going to be asked by Senator Muma. So we don't have to ask everything now, because the 3 more questions And a lot of the questions that are being asked actually are related to the questions that are yet to be asked. Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond. There's one limb of Senator Ledama's question that you had not responded. How much is paid to the service provider, and whether that has been audited? Proceed. You may proceed. How much is paid to the service provider annually, and whether that has been audited?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the amount of money paid to the service provider fluctuates, and it depends on the number of services offered. But in terms of details, this can be provided by ICT Authority. I know that we pay on average about 180 million per year. Let me just consult 1 minute, Mr. Speaker, on that.
You may proceed to Honorable CS. You may proceed to respond to that questions.
Yeah. So on the specifics of the amounts, we may need to check and supply. But the information, monthly payments, if the Honorable Senate would want, we would still supply it. In fact, we have all the data from the time when this service, this contract was entered into, all the amounts. Now let me respond to the specific questions by Senator Esther. I've not forgotten you. Sometimes, you know, when you are...
Senator Fernandi, take your seat.
Sometimes when you are graduating in age, we don't say you are advancing, but you are graduating in age, your eyes sometimes become, start misbehaving. But we also, politicians don't like wearing specs. You'll notice most politicians, even when they get to 70, 80, they don't like wearing specs. Apart from a few like the leader of minority and Senator Faki. But let me respond by saying that why are hostels still being owed? I think there have been challenges with NHIF. Generally, that is why the government even saw it fit to change the system. There has been a lot of fraudulent activities around NHIF in terms of collusion with service providers, the hostels, and that has complicated the management of this fund. But I would assure this House that there is a high-level engagement to ensure that all pending bills are paid. A lot of pending bills are also owed to NHIF, even by government institutions. And I have the figure, the last meeting we had of a cabinet meeting engaged in this exercise, we agreed that Treasury will work very closely with the ministry to ensure that NHIF, we pay the money that is owed to NHIF so that NHIF can also pay the hostels for a smooth transition to the new system. So there is work going on that. To Senator Chute, final dues not paid since 2020 to a Kenyan, that is very unfair. Actually, let me also confess that I almost said my constituency, but the constituency I've represented for 15 years. There's a lady who yesterday sent me details of her husband, the final dues, and she wants that paid. The husband was a former assistant chief. So there is a problem with the payment of final dues, and this is something that will take. So if I could get for the case, so that we address this specific case, but I think we need to have a clear vision on how to resolve all the cases so that they don't come one by. There are people who may not access a senator or a member of parliament. But on this particular one, Senator, you can give us the details and we'll be able to follow it. Senator Wamatinga, the plans to reintroduce Huduma numbers, especially on issues of land compensation. I want to be very clear that what remains the standard document in this country as proof of your being a Kenyan or as a proof
of your existence in this country is still national ID. And that is, to me, the anchor point. These others, we can look for ways of integration, integrating our systems, but we must anchor it on national ID. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to address the issue of pending bills. The pending bills, I think the issue of Senator Kavindu is again on pending bills. I think I addressed that earlier when I was addressing issues that were raised by Senator Esther. Okay? And then on the issue of issues raised by Tabitha, Senator Tabitha, where application for IDs, and then I think the application for IDs take too long. Maybe I didn't capture it well.
Senator Tabitha.
Just maybe clarify.
Honorable CS, have your team help you by noting down these questions.
Yeah.
I was just asking, the application fee is 300.
No, I got it.
Replacement fee is 1,000.
I get it now. I get it now.
But my question was, why don't we then bring it to zero cost, since we are Kenyans and we deserve to have the idea? What's your take? And then who owns e-citizen?
Yeah, the one for each citizen I captured. Now, on the ID, Senator, interestingly, I agree with you. Actually, I'm one of the people who are in this school of thought that you don't have to pay to be registered as a Kenyan if we can take up this cost. And not long ago, I spoke to this differently. I don't want to speak a different language because I'm today a CS. I don't think it is wise to charge for new applicants. Maybe you can charge for replacement because, again, you need to be careful. When you are given a national identity, you need to protect it so that you don't lose it. But when you are applying for the first time, I am in agreement that this is a fee that needs to be reconsidered. I now sit in the government. I will use that platform to speak in the line that you are speaking. Once the government takes that position, then I will now join the government in speaking the position of the government because I'm in the cabinet. I hope you understand the difference there. Who owns each citizen? Each citizen is now run by the government. And why we pay, I think I explained that you pay for convenience. That is why it is called convenience fee. So you may have a problem with it, but that is the rationale for which it was introduced. It can be debatable whether it's a wise idea, but you pay for convenience because in the absence of this each citizen, it was quite inconveniencing to get government services. And Senator Veronica, a plan to onboard chief onto e-citizen. As we speak, there is high level of engagement in the government to see how to integrate all this system. And I think very soon we will be able to onboard all this shift onto the e-citizen because it's now the standard government payment platform. And we have seen that we have reduced, let me not say eliminated, reduced leakages of public funds the moment we resorted to this single account, the 22222. So we must onboard a shift to the e-citizen. The last question is, I was asked by about 4 senators, and I'll combine it because it's one answer. Senator for Embu was the first one to ask, and he asked in Kiswahili. You'll forgive me, I'll answer it in English. And then Senator for Wajir County, the Senator Bass, and of course Senator Faki of Mombasa, asked about the transfer of funds to the counties. I need no persuasion that transfers of funds to the counties must be done timeously. And I think we had agreed that it should be on 5th of the following month. And that we need to follow religiously. I know we have had quite a bit of challenges in terms of cash flow, but the problem that we have had at the beginning of this financial year was not entirely on cash flow. Actually, it doesn't help National Treasury to keep piling transfers to counties. It doesn't, because we just end up with huge bills to pay at a specific time. So we are very comfortable with regular and continuous transfers. However, the problems that we encountered at the beginning of this year is primarily, number one, was the legal challenges or the legal issues. There were two schools of thought, because the senators are aware that we haven't passed the CARA for 2024-25. The two houses have not passed CARA. So there were two schools of thought. There was one school of thought which believed that we cannot transfer money to the counties until and unless you have two critical pieces of legislation. That is the DORA and the CARA. Then there's another school of thought where, fortunately, I belong, that we have regulations in place which allow that you can transfer up to 50% of the previous year's allocation, which in this case was 385 billion. But again, to be very careful and be clear, my office had to seek legal opinion from the Office of the Attorney General, which fortunately we got. And the Attorney General was in agreement with the second school of thought where I belong. Now, so in July, we cleared the last financial year, 2023-24. We paid 30.8 billion in July to clear that financial year. Then last week, we paid July allocation, and we paid 31.8 billion to counties. So we haven't paid the August and now September allocations. But I would guarantee that we are making plans to make another payment for the month, or at least one more payment. My aim is to make sure that we cover the because we seem to be having a deficit of not less than a month. So we will try to catch up before the end of this year. We must catch up so that we don't have any outstanding amount to the counties. But having said that, because senators are also responsible for oversighting the counties, I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, that let us also try to put pressure on the counties to be able to sort out their issues with the controller of budget, so that we don't have huge balances sitting in the CRF account. As we speak today, there is 42 billion which has not been absorbed or taken up by counties. And the details are there. I don't want to go to the specific details of the counties. We have 42 billion, 380 million, 773,000. That counties have not been able to access. The money is there in the CRF account, 38.2 billion. And again, another 3 billion under recurrent, and another 969 million under development vote. So we need to have absorption which is smooth, because as an accountant and as a finance expert, the last thing you'd want to see is balances accumulating in idle accounts. It doesn't add value to the economy. It slows economic growth, because we need, once the money is transferred to the CRF, it should go to the counties, pay salaries, pay whatever recurrent, and pay and get into development. Because as we speak, largely the development money should be with the counties. The national government the development budget is shrinking by the day. So I don't want to go beyond that. Maybe another day I will have opportunity now to talk about the transfers to counties and absorption of the budgets or of the exchequer releases. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would end there. I hope I covered almost all the questions.
Thank you, CS. If your question has not been adequately covered, it shall be covered in the due course before the CS leaves, because he has 3 more questions. to respond to. Senator Muma, proceed to ask your question. Question number 060.
Honorable Speaker, my question to the Cabinet Secretaries, my questions to the Cabinet Secretary are as follows. One, what was the allocation for development expenditure in the national government budget for the financial year 2022-2023, and could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the percentage of the expenditure that was financed by government ordinary revenue, loans, and grants from development partners? Two, how much of the development expenditure was spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding financial years? And could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of these projects along with their corresponding amounts? Three, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of all development projects undertaken by the national government in the said financial year, specifying their names, sectors, locations, corresponding expenditure, completion dates, and indicate whether each project was initiated in the financial year or preceding financial years? Four, could the Cabinet Secretary provide details on all conditional grants by the national government to the counties in the said financial year, including the project names and the corresponding amounts, beneficiary counties, and any funding partners involved? And finally, were there any additional development funding or aid from development partners in the said financial year? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary specify the amount and the projects funded along with their respective locations? Thank you.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was questioned by nominated Senator Catherine Muma, and it is question number 6060, number 60. The first leg of our question was that what was the allocation for development expenditure in the national government budget for the financial year 22-23, and could I indicate the percentage of the expenditure that was financed by government's ordinary revenue, loans, and grants from development partners? And my response is as follows. Honorable Speaker, in the original approved by the development budget for financial year 2022-23, we had an amount of 715.4 billion. Out of these amounts, 389.2 billion was to be funded through ordinary revenue, and 292.8 billion was to be funded through loans. And again, 33.3 billion was through grants. However, the estimates were revised, I think a number of times, maybe thrice, if I'm not wrong, during the implementation of the budget. We had several supplementary budgets, and the final approved development estimates amounted to 583 billion, 200 million, 583.2 billion. This then comprised of 357.9 billion funded through ordinary revenue and 190.5 billion funded through loans, and 34.7 billion was funded through grants. How much, question number two was on how much of the development expenditure was spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding financial years, and could my office provide a list of these projects along with their corresponding amounts? My response is as follows, Honorable Speaker, that the details of the development expenditure spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding years, and the projects list and their corresponding amounts cannot be sourced from individual ministries, departments, and agencies. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very complicated exercise if my ministry were to go to all ministries, because there is really not a distinction between new projects and carryovers. Why? Because the law is clear that before you make payments for the next financial year, you need to clear the pending bills of the previous year. So what happens is that ministries and departments just proceed and pay the pending bills like any other amount. So the reports that we get from ministries is usually on global figures of development and recurrent, without specifying how much was for previous financial year and how much is for the subsequent year. But I also want to add that usually every quarter, Controller of Budget provides information to Parliament, and I guess that report of the Controller General should also be coming to the Senate to indicate how ministries implement the budget. So this exercise, if I were to task and engage my officers to go to various ministries, it would take months, if not a year. But it is very possible if the senators are concerned with specific ministry, then that information would easily be sourced. Now, on question number 3, where I'm required to provide a list of all development projects undertaken by the national government in the said financial year, which said financial year here is 22-23, specifying the names of the projects, the sectors where they are located, locations, corresponding expenditure, the completion dates, and whether each project was initiated in the said financial year or preceding financial year. I have, Mr. Speaker, attached a list of all projects which were implemented in the financial year in question, that is 22-23. You will find that under my submission, appendix number 1A and 1B. I am sure my team provided the appendices. Question number 4 was whether whether I could provide details on unconditional grants by the national government to the counties in the said financial year, including the project names and corresponding amounts, beneficiary counties, and any funding partners involved. Here, Honorable Speaker, during this financial year of 22-23, all additional allocations to the county government as specified in Section 5(1) or subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the County Government Additional Allocations Act of 2022 were classified as conditional grants. Okay? So the summary has been provided below, the first schedule and second schedule, and I've attached to this submission is the County Government Additional Allocation Act with detailed schedules of additional allocations to county governments in the said financial year. Funding sources, names of programs, projects allocated, amounts per beneficiary, counties. So that is under appendix number 2. But then I've supplied, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether this my additional information found its way to Parliament. I signed it this morning, a little late, because I wanted more details to be provided to the senators in terms of the project name, the amount, beneficiary counties, and financial. Some are GOK, some are IDA Bank, ETC, Danida, and others, World Bank. So, this, Mr. Speaker, I can table as additional information, if you permit me, just in case it didn't find its way, and I've signed it, it's addressed to the clerk of the Senate. So that is question number 4. Then question
Honorable CS, you may proceed to table the additional information.
Thank you. And the information is here with my signature. Now, question number 5, were there any additional development funding or aid from development partners in the said financial year, and if so, could the Cabinet Secretary specify the amount and the projects funded along with their respective locations? Mr. Speaker, the information I have is that there were no additional development funding from the development partners during the said financial year. I thank you.
Senator Muma may proceed to ask your 2 supplementary questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would want you, before I ask my supplementary questions, to note that the Treasury did not submit a response to question number 2. Instead, the Treasury has suggested that I get that information, or the Senate gets that information from the various ministries. Honorable Speaker, our constitution has elaborate provisions on public finance. It actually contemplates that the Treasury, and the Treasury has been given that role to actually ensure that it has a macro view of what is happening in terms of fiscal matters in this country. So it is unfortunate that the Treasury would run away from actually responding to this. And Honorable CS, I'm aware when this question was brought, you had not been appointed, but I would want to give free advice that when anybody in this country wants to ask a question on the overview of the matters finance, it is you who will be asked. And you cannot afford to say, ask the ministries to tell you what is happening. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, that you rule that the Treasury provides us with the information requested in my question number 2. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate also the Treasury for providing a huge document of the projects that were carried out in development in the financial year 2022-2023. But again, I want to give some counsel to CS that a better presentation of this information would help us to do our oversight better. I had requested specifically that the information be arranged in such a way that we are able to find out how many development projects happened in Isiolo, in Kakamega, in Mombasa, in Murang'a, and the information you've given is good information, but it is one has to dig in and actually do a lot more. Now, in your view, it will take months for your officers to do this. In my view, CS, you don't need your officers to do this. All you need to do is develop a template, send that template to the ministries, and the ministries will be able to give you that information
What is
within
your
2 weeks.
question, Senator Muma? Your supplementary question.
No, this is an important one, Speaker. A question was not answered, and I would want that the Treasury actually responds to that question. So I wanted you to actually rule that we get that extra information from the Treasury. Now to my question, I have done some analysis of this information, CS, and what I have found out is that the approved budgets is not exactly what is expended in actual fact. So we have reduced estimate at every supplementary estimate. We have reduced budgets, especially for the loans and the grants. So my question is, why are the multilateral and bilateral resources reducing every time, and what is the implication of this in terms of delays in getting the utility of the projects that we are passing, issues of honoring bilateral conditions, issues relating to incurring of more costs in fees and commissions, and issues of capacity? Is it that we don't have capacities to deliver on all of these projects? Bwana CS, I have analyzed, and if you check State Department of Technical Vocation, for instance, we only had a 30% performance of the grants available to that sector, 47% performance on the loans. The ASAL area, the Department for ASAL, had only 16% performance on the monies available to them from the loans and 55% performance on the grants. That means the people of Kenya are not getting the development that they need. What is the issue there? Secondly, Secondly, what is the Treasury as the overall agency responsible for finance doing to ensure that actors at both national and county levels are able to uptake development funds?
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to join my colleagues to welcome Honorable Mbadi. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask a question on revenue. I believe it is related to development projects and the funding. Mr. Speaker, we have never gotten it right as far as the system on collection or automation of revenue in the counties are concerned. Mr. Speaker, over the years, we have even tried KRA to be collecting revenue on behalf of the counties. Again, recently, there was a proposal that they want to come up with a system that is actually going to take care of revenue automation in the counties, Mr. Speaker, so that we have a uniform system. Mr. Speaker, we are losing a lot of money in those counties, which could have actually complemented the budget allocated by the national government. CS, my question is, since you are the new broom, how can you ensure that the revenues collected at the county level, it's properly collected, and you come up with an automated system in all the counties? Because you will see that cash is collected in all the counties. Yesterday, we had actually Siaya County, where they are still collecting revenue cash. And it's actually 21st century today. Mr. Speaker, my question is, can you be able to come up with actually a system that is accepted across the board? Because governors are actually fighting that system. If you can be able to come up with a system, Kenyans are actually going to save a lot of money as far as revenue collected at the county level is concerned. I thank you.
Senator for Nandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, and I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. You remember the former CS never stepped in this house even after we sanctioned. I want to thank Mr. Speaker. My simple question is, as at now, Waziri, what is the total pending bill by the national government? Because sometimes we hear that roads are only pending bill of 700 billion. Plus, as of today, what is the total both domestic and international debt that Kenya owes in this country? I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and allow me to join my colleagues in congratulating the CS. And I would want the CS to tell this House the specific amount of money the National Treasury owes in pending bills and what the government, through the Treasury, is doing to clear these bills because they're having a negative effect on our economy. Thank you.
Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. May I congratulate the Minister and welcome him to the House. I worked with him in the 10th Parliament, in the budget committee, and I know how sharp he is. So he's truly the new broom in the House. Mr. Speaker, I had a problem with his first response when he referred us back to the individual ministries to get the pending bills. Does it mean that the Treasury does not know the pending bills and does not have these records? Because our assumption is that all the other ministries, money, as far as money is concerned, respond to Treasury, and when they have pending bills, they should be talking to Treasury. So I thought that was a very important question, that we needed to know the link between the ministries and Treasury as far as pending bills are concerned. Don't they have the data? Thank you.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to join my colleagues to congratulate the new CS, a colleague of mine for 10 years in National Assembly. I know you are a smart CS, and we believe you're going to do a lot of things there and help Kenyans. Mine, Honorable Speaker, is a comment from what Senator Tula said. You know, National Treasury has a system that is centralized, the IBMIS system that basically manages the expenditure at the counties. And I don't see the reason why they should not have an integrated revenue management system for the counties. The governors are fighting because they are stealing by collecting cash, they are stealing by having their own systems with their collaborators. So, Honorable Speaker, I want the CS to commit that by all means, that system, integrated revenue management system, has been rolled to seal the leakages of revenue at the counties.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me say, in response to the supplementary question from the questioner, the Senator Catherine Moma, that question number 2, which was asking the specific pending bills that were paid in the financial year in question, it's not that I've refused or my ministry has refused to respond, but this may require a little bit, quite a bit of time because usually when payments are made by the ministries or state departments and MDS, we don't disintegrate that this one is now for pending bill and this is a new bill. We make payments continuously, and then the figure for pending bills are supplied at the end of the financial year. And I'll come to that because that is a question that Senator Margaret Kamar also asked. So I just thought that if maybe there are specific ministries where you are interested in knowing the specific pending bills that were paid, then that would have been supplied easily. But if this House finds that my ministry supplies this information, it will take a while, but we can still supply the information. On whether we could have a template, Honorable Speaker, maybe I just continue. I hope Senator Catherine could attend to...
Senator Muma,
yes.
You've abandoned your questions.
Yeah, so she asked whether we could design a template to capture this information. Yes, we could. But again, you know, we have the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, which determines the kind of systems that we use. It is a recommendation that we can put to the board so that they approve it, and then we have a system that would capture some of this information as and when they are onboarded to the system. Again, Senator, you are spot on that the approved budget is not what is expended. That is true. Our absorption level is very low, especially on donor-funded, so to speak, projects or projects funded through development partners, through loans and grants. And this is because of a number of reasons, some of which are internal, some also relate to the development partners. But a lot of issues is because of us. Number one, most of the donor-funded projects require counterpart funding. Sometimes we put the donor-funded projects in the budget without sufficient provision, or we end up reducing our budgets like it has happened in this financial year when we realize that we can't collect so much. So you find a deficit in the counterpart funding, which then would affect the donor-funded project, because for the development partners to release the money, they must be assured that the counterpart funding is guaranteed and is forthcoming. So that is a serious challenge that we must deal with. Secondly, there are also reporting issues raised by the development partners. But in terms of the strategy going forward, without going into the details why these absorptions have not been forthcoming or have not been smooth, we have a team that is looking into this matter, coordinated from my ministry, and we are going to address all these issues. Actually, just a few days, I think 2 days ago, I was dealing with a case of the Finnish government ready to provide us with grants, not even a loan. But then our delay, our internal systems are complicating the implementation of the same. So these are issues that are efficiency issues which must be dealt with. But there are also the other ones of budgetary issues. Those ones we must also have a strategy on how to make sure that if we are factoring funding in our budget from development partners, there must be a matching funds or the counterpart funding so that when it comes to implementation, the implementation becomes smooth. So that addresses your issue of how then would we ensure the uptake of these development funds. It is something that, especially now that funding is shrinking by the day, we must make sure that we clear the hurdles on these development-funded projects. Senator Dulo has raised serious concerns with the collection of revenue at the counties, and I can't agree more. There is already a proposal which has gone to an advanced stage to have a system, a standardized system for collection of revenue in counties. There is no reason why we should operate like we are 48 governments. We are actually a country with devolved systems of governments, but we need to have a standardized system so that if you come from Isiolo, you go to Homa Bay, it's almost predictable. If you're a business person, what to pay, how much to pay, and even how to pay it should be standardized. So that process is ongoing. Unfortunately, consensus has not been reached with the Council of Governors. I appeared before the last and my first IBEC meeting, and this matter is still under discussion. I hope soon we are going to find a way forward, because we also don't want to upset the county government, because there is a level of autonomy. We don't want to impose a system on them. It is the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance, which is the National Treasury, to design a system to help all spending units have a system that is efficient. But again, we know that county governments also enjoy some level of autonomy. We want to bridge that gap so that we agree. That, I think, is being coordinated by the Deputy President, who is the chair of IBEC, and soon we will come up with a solution. Honorable Cheragay has asked me a direct question on what is the total pending bills. And your question, I would tie it to the question that has been raised by Senator Margaret Kamar. You know, Senator Kamar, you started wishing me well in the 10th Parliament. I don't know what you saw, but you kept on saying that there is somewhere where I'll reach. I don't know whether now you can tell me whether I've reached where you wanted me to reach, or you still feel I'm going far. But it is not that we don't know how much is pending bills. What is not clear is the authenticity of the pending bills that is being reported. Remember, pending bills in Kenya, we have been using what we call cash basis of accounting. So pending bills or money owed to the government by the government of Kenya to various citizens who are service providers. Actually, we should not even call them pending bills. These are debts owed to people. These amounts, we are not very clear about them because they don't form the body of our financial statements. In cash basis, they are reported as notes off balance sheet. So they really, we don't treat them with the, we don't give them the weight that we should. We are moving beginning this financial year to accrual basis, where now pending bills will form part of our balance sheet, of our financial reporting. But right now, the reports that we have is that pending bills that which were submitted, because we formed the pending bills committee. Yeah? It is called Pending Bills Verification Committee. What was submitted to them was 664 billion shillings, owed by the national government, not the counties. Now, these amounts will definitely come down. From the indication, because we have not even received an interim report, I gather that the pending bills may be just in the region of 400 or so billion, meaning about 200 and so billion could have been fictitious. But let me wait for the final report to be submitted, or even an interim report to be submitted by this committee. So we know the pending bills. On roads, which Honorable Charegei mentioned, at least we know that we owe cumulatively about 167 billion to the various road contractors. And that is why you see across the country, all road projects have stalled. And quite a significant portion of this is on interest and penalties charged by these contractors for idle equipment, which again, sometimes you find those there are no even equipment on the road. They bring broken machinery and put there. We are on a program and a strategy to make sure, especially on the road sector, that we bring back the road constructors on the road. We managed to negotiate a loan with the China, through China Development Bank. We negotiated a concessionary loan of 36 billion equivalent of Kenya shillings to take up about 15 roads. One would ask, why those roads? These were roads which were being constructed through GOK funds, but were awarded to Chinese contractors. So we have just changed the responsibility of paying them through GOK funds to being paid through a concessionary loan from the Chinese government. But we are in a process where we are looking for money. We hope that by December of this year, we should be able to have cleared at least the pending bills on to the road contractors and have the contractors back on the road. I would have told you more that the moment you owe contractors money, one, you are affecting the economy badly because there is no liquidity. But two, if these contractors could come back to the roads, then construction industry, which has been shrinking, the contribution of construction to GDP, if you looked at the few years, the 2 years now, it has been going down. It is now at about 1.4% of GDP. It used to be very high. Why? Because road constructions across the country is not ongoing. So the contribution of construction to our GDP is very low, and that is why our GDP cannot rise to the required level. Now let me move to, I think Honorable Mbugua also asked the same question on pending bills. So it is a question asked by Senator Cherargei, Senator Margaret Kamar. Now, the last question I have here is from Senator Kisang on integrating our revenue collection system for the counties. Again, I think I addressed this question. We have a proposal, we have a mechanism, we have a system we are proposing to the counties, a standardized system of revenue collection. Unfortunately, consensus is yet to be reached. So the moment we agree with the COG, then this will be rolled out and we'll have a system that is standardized, that can now be checked for efficacy. And if it is good, as I think it will be, then it would help address some of the problems that we face with our counties in terms of revenue collection. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to, first of all, welcome my brother John Mbadi, who we have slogged it out in this house for many years. And I want to say that, CS, I'm happy to see you. I know that you and me have brushed each other our shoulders recently, but that was not personal. That was purely business. And I would like to just raise 3 issues. I am glad that you have discussed the issue of revenue collection. My position is that...
Onyonka,
yes.
Under standing orders, you're entitled to ask one supplementary question. Just
Thank
one.
you. Thank you. It's one which has got 3 lines.
No. One is one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. CS, the issue of revenue collection, the contradictions in the IFMIS system, the problem of exchequer releases, and of course, finally, our debt. What do you intend to do with those 3 things? I know you've kind of answered them, but I've tried to link them all together. For example, if we had one simple financial system that is interfacing the county governments, the national government, all departments of government, the foreign service, you would then know who's spending your money, how they're spending it, and where it's going. Do you intend to have such a system so that then we can actually reduce the amount of mismanagement or abuse which has taken place with the system? Thank you, sir.
Senator Oburu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to welcome the CS Treasury to this Parliament. I know when I was there as an assistant minister, he used to give me very tough questions. And I was struggling to answer some of those questions. And Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask strictly one question, as you have said. This is just curious, Mr. Speaker, that when the team went to China, they only negotiated for payment of Chinese contractors. And yet there are many other contractors who are also stalled. They have moved out of the construction site because of pending bills, Mr. Speaker. I did not clearly hear from the CS what they plan to do with these others, and why were the Chinese too selfish just to agree to fund only their own. But if you pay the pending bills, what happens now for further construction? Is it just paying debt for these contractors? And what arrangement is there to make sure that those roads which were funded by the Chinese continue and they are finished? Because that is the interest of Kenyans. We don't want to know whether you have paid them. They are pending bills. Pending bills is only pending, but we want how the arrangements you have for continuation and completion of those roads, and what will happen to those ones which are not funded by the Chinese, and why they were only funding the ones for their contractors and not the others. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very interesting that Senator Oburu is actually asking the question that I wanted to, but I will twist it a bit. Because basically what has happened, then the Chinese have given us a concession loan to pay their own people, and you can take care of your people whichever way you take care of them. But going specifically to that is 6 billion Kenya shillings that you have gotten from China to revive the construction of 15 roads, as you said. I want to ask the CS to check with these people, if we can now, whether those 15 roads, the Kibwezi, Mutomo, Kitui, Migwani, Bodoni Road, is part of the 15 roads that will be revived. Bwana CS, that road is such a pathetic situation. 102 kilometers. They have done almost 180, remaining less than 20 kilometers to completion. The contractor has shipped out of sight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How I wish Senator Onyonka was still around. But I just wanted to give confidence to the country that what was seen as differences between me and Onyonka, and maybe even Senator Sifuna, We were just discharging our responsibilities. And these are my friends. We've come from far. Onyonka, we have been with him in Parliament for over 15 years. And so nothing personal. In fact, there was even talk, Senator, that I've lost weight. I just wanted to advise those who are graduating in age that you must keep fit. It is healthy. It's very, very good for your health. So I've deliberately been cutting that weight. And I'll continue to cut. It has nothing to do with the pressure, stress. There is pressure, yes, at the Treasury, no doubt, but it is not something that is insurmountable. It's something that I'm prepared for, and I continue to discharge my duties. I agree with Honorable Senator Onyonka on the contradiction in our various financial systems. You can have many financial systems addressing specific issues, HR, other issues like payment system, but what the answer is in integration. IFMIS was supposed to address this, but I think IFMIS has some failures or weaknesses which must be dealt with. So we are actually looking at integrating our systems so that we have a system that you can have a clear view, that you can, the visibility of transactions are very clear. We are also doing it with KRA. Mr. Speaker, there is a program that we have in place to make sure that KRA in terms of tax collection is improved and enhanced. Even this afternoon, we have a briefing session on the same. We want to make sure that all VATs are paid, that all rental income, which we are only collecting 17 billion, Mr. Speaker, and yet the potential is 101 billion or thereabout, and many others like personal income tax, Mr. Speaker. Personal income tax in this country, professionals in this country who are not very poor, Mr. Speaker, don't pay as much as people who are salaried pay because the visibility is not clear. So this integration of the system is key. Let me address the issues raised by my senior, Senator Oburu, and actually my mentor. Those who may not know, the only senior politician who campaigned for me when I was coming in for the first time is Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga, and I still owe him a lot for that. He has brought me to where I am. I want to address this issue of Chinese contractors, and that is also the same question that Senator Wambua asked. Let me just explain how the Chinese contractors, the Chinese government, through China Development Bank, agreed to take up some of these contracts and pay. Previously, we are aware, especially during President Kibaki's time, that Chinese government used to fund a lot of road constructions in this country. They were giving us funds and bringing their contractors. That was one of the conditions. But along the way, we shifted our attention from road construction funded by Chinese contractors to other areas like SGR, geothermal, etc. So very few of the roads in this country from the time President Uhuru came into office have been contracted or done by funds from the Chinese government. Most of the roads that we see Chinese contractors engaged in are funded through Government of Kenya funds. Now, it became almost impractical for us to be able to finance all this road construction, both by Chinese contractors, other contractors from elsewhere, and even the Kenyan contractors. So what happens is that we have a budget every year of about 50 billion for development under the State Department for Roads. But the bills, the pending bills, as I mentioned earlier, is 167. So you need not less than 3 years just paying pending bills. That is why the government came up with a strategy to take contracts that were under or in the hands of Chinese contractors in terms of road construction and negotiate with Chinese government if they could be funded from their money through concessionary loans. There are so many contractors. In fact, the total amount of works, both pending bills and what should be done, which should be done by Chinese contractors, is so much money. Now what happens is that Chinese were only able to agree to 36 billion, and the criteria was that the roads should be not those ones which have graduated or have been developed to a certain percentage. I think it was 25%. So those roads which less than 25% had been done are the ones that were onboarded to this facility. So Senator Wambua, I may need to check whether Kibwezi Mutomo Road is a part of this. But I know that many roads done by Chinese contractors are not in that list, including a road which is in my own constituency, was also left out in that list. Mr. Speaker, what is the strategy? I think Senator Oburu ended by asking me to clearly state how then the other roads would be funded. Mr. Speaker, if the 7 shillings increase in fuel levy fund is allowed to continue, we have a strategy to securitize that amount, and because we'll be collecting about 30 billion per year, securitize it and then pay off the pending bills, and then now we come to a level where we can budget for additional works. But my final comment is this. Mr. Speaker, we must go back to the root cause of these pending bills. Why are we starting new roads when the ones that are ongoing have not been completed? We have not been budgeting for road construction properly. Because you find a road that should cost 2 billion, once the Ministry of Roads has 200 million, then they start it. They procure and award. 200 million, how many years will you need to complete a road of 2 billion by allocating 200 million? Mr. Speaker, a road which has pending bill of 513 million is awarded 47 million. You need over 10 years to just pay the pending bills. We must come back to the basics and stop playing politics with road construction in this country, and ensure that those road projects which are ongoing are completed. Then we can then start other roads. That is what I would say, Mr. Speaker. I end my submission there.
We now proceed to question number 088 by the Honorable Senator Joyce Korir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am asking the Honorable CS this question on behalf of Senator Joyce Korir. And before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to also congratulate the Honorable CS for his joining the broad-based government and for taking the lead in participating in the responses to the questions regarding service delivery to the people of Kenya. Question number 088, Honorable CS, is in the following. Under question A, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the inordinate delay in processing and disbursing pension benefits to retired civil servants, and state why one Mr. Stephen Kipyegon Turgat of TSC number 073576 and Mr. Jonathan Kiptanui Langat of TSC number 069710, who retired in the year 2001, are yet to receive their pension? B, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure the timely processing and disbursement of pension benefits to civil servants? And could the Honorable CS provide a timeline for the disbursement of all the pending pension dues? C, Mr. Speaker, what initiatives has the ministry taken to sensitize civil servants on their pension rights as well as the pension claim processes? And lastly, to the Honorable CS, could he explain any measures that has been put in place by the ministry to ensure retirees can access the pensions department services countrywide thereby eliminating the need to travel long distances to Nairobi to follow up on these pension claims. Mr. Speaker, those are the questions, and I thank you.
Cabinet Secretary, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, Senator Joyce Korir wanted to know the following, and I'll start with question number 1. This was question number 088. So the first question was if I could explain the inordinate delay in processing and disbursing pension benefits to retired civil servants, and there are specific pensioners whom she has sought to know if they have received their pensions, and I respond as follows. Honorable Speaker, over time, several key factors have contributed to delays in pension processing within the Pensions Department. However, through targeted initiatives, many of these issues have been incrementally addressed, leading to improvements in processing efficiency. Below are some of the primary factors impacting on the pension processing and disbursement timelines, while I will discuss the measures taken to mitigate the challenges shortly. Number 1 is delays in submission from MDS, that is ministries, departments, and agencies. So one of the major causes of delays is the late submission of necessary documentation from MDS. These delays are often due to inefficiencies and internal bottlenecks within the MDS, where the preparation and forwarding of pension-related documents are not always prioritized. Number 2, incomplete documented claims resulting in referral backwards. Another significant delay factor is the frequent submission of incomplete or improperly documented claims. When key information is missing, claims have to be referred back to the originator for correction, causing substantial delays in processing. Number 3 is system unavailability. Technical issues and system downtime have also contributed to delays in processing pensions. Outages and system failures often resulted in significant backlogs as the department was unable to process claims during these periods. Number 4 is workload versus staffing. Previously, the imbalance between the heavy workload and limited number of staff coupled with limited automation was a contributor to delays. The volume of claims had grown in unmatched proportions of human resource and the then deployed technology, leading to extended timelines for pension processing. Number 5, bureaucratic bottlenecks. The presence of multiple layers of approval within the pension processing workflow contributed to unnecessary delays. Each level of approval required time, often without adding significant value to the process. Number 6 is delayed budgetary allocation. Pension processing is also impacted by delays in exchequer allocations. On the specific cases, I will now respond as follows. Now, there were specific cases where I was asked to respond. Case number 1 is Stephen Turgut Kipyegon. I hope I've got the name correctly. TSC number 73576. Pension number APN/PC 150010. Mr. Stephen Turgut retired from the Teacher Service Commission with effect from 31st August 2003, where he last served as an approved Teacher 1. His claim was submitted to the Pension Department by the TSC on 15th January 2004. His pension benefits were processed and paid on 4th August 2004. He was awarded 625,899 shillings and 90 cents as his lump sum, including monthly pension arrears. He was receiving a monthly pension of 9,278 until his demise on 2nd April 2012, when the 5 years dependent pension took effect and was paid to his dependents, that is his wife, Mrs. Margaret Chepkirui Turgut. She received a monthly dependent pension of 9,778, which ceased on the 5th anniversary of the death of the pensioner. Mrs. Turgut was also paid a widows and children's pension in arrears through the December 2013 payroll, followed by the subsequent monthly pension of Kenya shillings 4,362 to date. Case number 2 was on Jonathan Kiptanui Langat, TSC number 69701, and pension number APN/PC 131805. Mr. Jonathan Langat retired from the Teacher Service Commission again with effect from August 31st, 2001, where he served as a P1 teacher. His claim was submitted to the Pension Department by the TSC on 14th May 2002. His pension benefits were processed and paid on 9th August 2002, and he was awarded 165,282 cents as his lump sum payment, including monthly pension arrears. He received a monthly pension of 3,613.17 cents Kenya shillings until his demise on 18th September 2006, when the dependent pension took effect and was paid to his dependents, his wife, Ms. Irene Chepkoech Langat, at a monthly rate of 3,613 that ceased on the 5th anniversary of the death of the pensioner. She was also paid widows and children's pension, which she continues to earn at the rate of Kenya shillings 4,120 to date. Additional context on pension review. It is important to note that a category of retired teachers was subject to a pension review following the landmark ruling in Teacher Service Commission versus Simon P. Kamau, and the court case is indicated there, Mr. Speaker. This ruling addressed disparities in pension payments for teachers who retired between 1st July 1997 and 30th June 2003, entitling them to have their pensions recalculated based on revised salary scales. Mr. Stephen Kipyegon Turgut retired on 31st August 2003 and did not fall within the eligible category for the pension review. However, Mr. Jonathan Kiptanui Lagat retired on 31st August 2001 and was eligible for review. The TSC submitted the revised pension claim on 16th August 2024. The claim was processed and the revised amount totaling 301,692 was duly paid to his wife, Irene Chepkoech Langat, being revised pension. Question number 2, or B, according to the questioner, was on what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure the timely processing and disbursement of pension benefits to civil servants, and could the Cabinet Secretary provide a timeline for the disbursement of all pending pension dues? Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury acknowledges the importance of continuously enhancing the timely, efficient, and effective payment of pensions to all retirees. Before outlining the specific measures taken, it is essential to understand the broader context of the pension payment process. Overview of the pension payment process. Number 1, dependency on various actors. The pension payment process involves multiple stakeholders, each with distinct responsibilities that impact the timelines for pension disbursement. Number 2, retiree and beneficiary responsibilities. Retirees or beneficiaries of deceased officers must apply for their pension dues by completing and submitting the necessary documentation. Delays in this step, especially in cases of family disputes or litigation, can impact the payment timelines. Number 3 is the employer's role. Employers are required to issue retirement notices to employees at least 1 year in advance to enable timely submission of pension claim forms. The employer is expected to submit these claims to the Pensions Department at least 9 months before the employee's retirement. Number 2 is the role of the Pensions Department. As the final authority in the pension processing chain, the Pensions Department is expected to finalize claims within 90 days of receiving fully supported pension claims. Number 5 and final one is the impact of exchequer funding. The release of pension gratuity payments depends on the availability of exchequer funding, which in turn is influenced by national revenue inflows. Delays in funding can affect the timely disbursement of pensions. Mr. Speaker, on specific measures implemented. In pursuit of continuous improvement, the following measures have been implemented. Number one is the re-engineering of the pensions management information system. One of the most critical initiatives is the comprehensive overhaul of the pension management information system. The National Treasury is actively re-engineering the PMIS to enable its functionality, data management, and overall efficiency. A contractor was onboarded in February 2024 for the development, supply, configuration, installation, testing, implementation, and commissioning of an online pension management information system in order to guarantee an enterprise resource planning ERP solution, which will automate pension processes end-to-end and eliminate manual interfaces. This upgrade will significantly streamline pension processing, ensuring faster and more accurate disbursement, meaning we'll be transiting officers from the payroll to the pension. Key features and benefits of the forthcoming pension management information system have a number of key features. I don't know whether to read all of them. There is online submission, there is self-service portal, timely payments, real-time monitoring, enhanced security, automated processes, integration with existing systems, as I've just explained, where we integrate with the government systems like Government Human Resources Information System, Civil Registration Bureau, KRA and Registration of Persons Bureau, and integrate it with the Population Registry System, which would ensure data accuracy and consistency. The other one will be digital records management, where we are going to digitize pension records, reducing the risk of loss or damage to physical documents. Final experience for pensioners, improving the overall effectiveness of pension management. The project is on track to be completed and rolled out by the end of this calendar year. Number two is deployment of pension officers to key ministries, departments, and agencies. And this is to further expedite the pension processing chain. The government has deployed 32 pension officers to various key MDAs, including the Teacher Service Commission, which has majority of the pensioners, National Police Service, and the Ministry of Health, Interior, Education, Agriculture, Livestock, and Prisons. These officers are tasked with handling pension claims on site, drastically reducing the time needed for verification and submission of claims to the pension department. This strategic deployment ensures that pension claims are processed more quickly and the retirees receive their benefits without unnecessary delays. Early submission of pension claims. The Public Service Commission has mandated in its policies that MDAs submit pension claims to the Pensions Department 9 months before an officer's official retirement age or date. This early submission allows for thorough verification and processing of claims well in advance of retirement, ensuring that pension benefits can be disbursed promptly upon the retiree's departure from the service. Number 4 is adherence to the 90-day processing timeline. The Pensions Department has reinforced its commitment to processing fully supported pension claims within 90 days, as outlined in the National Treasury Citizens Service Delivery Charter. This commitment is integral to ensuring that pensioners receive their benefits within a reasonable time frame after retirement, thus minimizing any financial uncertainty during the transition to retirement. Number 5 is technical supports and system enhancements in the Pensions Department. The Pensions Department has executed a technical support contract aimed at improving the payment process and enhancing the overall customer experience. Key initiatives under this contract include the stabilization of the system and assurance of system availability, system designs to enhance automated claim processing of hitherto difficult isolated cases. Let me move to number 6, which is deployment of pension officers to Huduma centers nationwide. I think, again, that is self-explanatory. We are also now review of the pension legal framework. Recognizing the need for a robust and adaptable pension system, the government is undertaking a comprehensive review of the pensions legal framework. This review set to begin in the second quarter of 24-25 financial year. It's aimed to align the pension laws with changing demographics, economic conditions, and social expectations. The goal is to ensure financial sustainability, equity, and international competitiveness in Kenya's retirement system. Number 8 is formulation of a national retirement benefits policy. Again, the national retirement benefits policy, approved by the Cabinet on 3rd November 2023, serves as a cornerstone for the future development of the retirement benefits sector in Kenya. This policy is designed to improve governance within the retirement system, foster sector growth, and ensure income security of retirees. Number 9 is sensitization of civil servants on retirement documentation. To further support timely pension processing, the Pension Department has conducted workshops aimed at educating civil servants on the necessary documentation and procedures required before retirement. And again, the details are provided in my written submission. Number 10 is recruitment of additional pension officers. In a bid to bolster the Pension Department's capacity, which I expressed earlier, the National Treasury recruited additional pension officers in the year 2021, followed by 6 deputy directors with extensive expertise in pension administration, who were recruited in the year 2024. So this recruitment drive is a part of a broader strategy to enhance the department's efficiency and effectiveness in managing pension benefits for public servants. The other question that was asked, Mr. Speaker, is what initiatives has the ministry taken to sensitize civil servants on their pension rights as well as the pension claim processes? Here, Honorable Speaker, I want to state as follows, that the Pensions Department has continuously engaged in civic education to the public regarding pensions and their rights as civil servants to access pension as well as information. Some of the measures in place to sensitize civil servants include the following. 1 is partnership with NDS for sensitization of pensioners. Actually, I had already spoken to that. Number 2 is joint public exhibitions with industry pensions players. Number 3 is online publications of pension information to the public. The 4th question, Mr. Speaker, was, could the Cabinet Secretary explain any measures put in place by the Ministry to ensure retirees can access the Pensions Department services countrywide, thereby eliminating the need to travel long distances to Nairobi to follow up on pension claims? Honorable Speaker, I wish to state as follows. The National Treasury has put in place a number of measures as elaborated below. I have just explained 2 measures. Number 1, deployment of pension officers to all the Huduma centers countrywide. To enhance service delivery, the Pension Department decentralized its information services through the deployment of pensions officers to Huduma centers countrywide. This initiative was designed to address the concerns of the elderly pensioners and beneficiaries who faced logistical challenges to access the pension services at the headquarters in Nairobi. The department has also deployed the real-time pensions management information system to the Huduma centers to facilitate efficient customer care services at the country level. Finally, Mr. Speaker, is outreach programs by pension officers through Huduma Mashinani. The department, through its officers deployed to the Huduma centers, have been sensitizing the public on pension matters while rendering pension services through the Huduma Mashinani outreach programs. This initiative ensures that the pension services can be accessed by retirees at the grassroots level countrywide. In conclusion, the Pension Department has continuously revamped its operations through adoption of a results-based management approach to ensure timely, efficient, and effective payment of pension to all retirees. In the financial year 23-24, the Pension Department was allocated 187.5 billion in the revised budget to pensioners to fund gratuities, payroll, and dependent pensions to the public. The disbursed amount as of 30th June 2024 was 148.9 billion, where gratuities or lump sum benefits were 43 billion and pensioners' payroll was 73.6 billion, with a biannual monthly increase of 3% for pensioners. And lastly, the new scheme, which is the superannuation scheme, contributions was 31.6 billion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sige, you have a supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I first of all want to appreciate the Honorable CS for a very elaborate response to the various questions which were asked by my colleague, Senator Joyce. I have got two questions. One, I want to get a commitment from the Honorable CS, noting that the two specific cases which were listed here, you've elaborately responded that the pensions have since been paid. The last one was on the 16th of August 2024. I believe this will answer that first limb of the question, but I would wish to get a commitment from your end with regards to the system which you have. This is called the Re-Engineering of the Pension Management Information System, PMIS, which, according to your response, is due to be completed and rolled out by end of the year 2024. I would be very happy to get a commitment and undertaking by the Honorable CS with that timeline. And two, question number two, which is supplementary question number two, which is emanating from your response to question number 4 on the measures which you've put in place or your ministry has put in place to ensure retirees access pension. The second one is on the outreach programs by pension officers. This one I want to confirm to you, Honorable CS, that from where I come from, where I represent the county of Bomet, I haven't been able to experience or get to know that these do exist. Could I or could you be in a position to confirm that that is so, and if not, I would be very happy to get a confirmation that you will facilitate this outreach program for the pensioners to get to understand Duma Mashinani, and in particular to facilitate them benefit from these outreach services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my commitment to Senator Sigei is that the two cases have been addressed. The first case, actually the second case is the one that had a little bit of issues because of the revising of the pension system following the court case. And so there was additional funds that were supposed to be given to this pensioner, and that was processed in August 20. There should be no issue at all. On the rollout of the system, yes, the commitment from my team is that by the end of this fiscal year, initially there was a talk that we should roll it out by the end of this financial year, but I think we have insisted that the rollout should be by the end of this fiscal year. Because again, we usually as a government have very good intentions, good strategies, but implementing them become a problem, and then implementation or rollout become a moving target. I'm trying to cure that and make sure that where we can implement system immediately, that there should be no procrastination and delay, and that is what I intend to do. On the issue of the outreach, not covering some areas of the country, that could be possible. I'll have to investigate this and find out if the rollout is uniform across the country and if it is adding value and people are appreciating it. Because you can also roll it out and people are not even aware and therefore not appreciating. So with specific to your county, Senator, Bomet County, I will find out, but I will also look at other counties alongside Bomet to make sure that all Kenyans, even those who probably today no question has not been asked on their behalf, also benefit from the rollout. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, you have a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and allow me to really appreciate the standards that the CS of Finance has set before this House. As we've mentioned earlier, it's the first time that the CS is appearing, and I've listened to the feedback you've given is very elaborative. But my concern goes, I think, more specifically to your officers, who are mandated with the responsibility of ensuring that these pensions are paid. Because I have a very similar case from a late one, Penina Kelonzo from Kitui, who passed on, and they came to my office following on this matter of the pension, and the response was that TSC had not submitted to Treasury. then you just wonder, for Christ's sake, these are intergovernmental organizations. Why should be Kenyans, be subjected to the delayance of the officers who are in charge of these dues that subject families and their children to suffer because an officer is just seated somewhere on their desk and they're not executing? What you've elaborated astonishes us, that systems are in place. So if the system is in place, Bwana Waziri, then it means someone is sitting, and I'll give you the name after this. I'll give you the name of the officer so that you take action. The leniency I'll give, I've not put him on record now, but I'll give you the name because it's very disappointing to have people who are not executing their mandate in that office of pension. The other issue I wanted just to quickly raise, Mr. Speaker, I sit in the committee for CPIC, and I'm happy the chair is here. Just let me wrap it up, whereby as counties, the CS is working on ensuring that remittance is done to the counties. But during salary payments, these deductions are done. Pensions deductions are done, but we are suffering whereby as we do audit, as you've said, as senators to do our oversight mandate, we are doing that, but pensions are also not being submitted to the relevant beneficiaries. That's my concern, Bwana Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Otsotsi, you also have a question. So, okay.
I just wanted to inform my member, Senator Tabitha, that the CS has already embarked on the process of implementing your recommendations on the matter of unremitted pension from county government and the different local authorities. So the process started with the previous cabinet secretary, but he has picked it up. And hopefully very soon we will have the task force in place to look at that matter.
Thank you for the information, Senator Otsotsi. You can go ahead and ask your supplementary question.
Speaker, let me first of all start by thanking the PS for appearing in this house. I have come in late, but I was...
The CS, not the PS.
I have come in late, but I was watching where I was. And I'm excited that we now have a PS who is very thorough. A CS who is very thorough in his work. And indeed, this confirms what we have been telling Kenyans, that as ODM, we have seconded our best expert to be in charge of the Ministry of Finance. Now, coming to my question, I'm happy to learn that the ministry is putting in place plans to automate the pension department by coming up with a pension system. But I would like to find out from the CS what plans are there to ensure that all these financial systems are integrated so that the pension system is integrated with the IFMIS and other key government systems, so that we don't end up having the challenges that we have been having, for example, with the IFMIS, and they have been raised in this house, where the controller budget has been pushing for an end-to-end IFMIS solution, so that she's able to monitor the payments that are made on the IFMIS, so that to be able to deal with the issue of diversion of funds. So I'm just concerned about the issue of integration. What plans are there so that to make sure that this pension system is integrated to IFMIS and other related systems within government? Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the honorable senators for the questions raised. I'll start with Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Tabitha, I agree with you. Actually, let's face it, if you have too much interface between officers and systems, you have a problem. Because
a lot of these delays are just rent-seeking strategies, which must be eliminated. And that is why we are trying to reduce the human interface with the system and have a system that is integrated where we will, we will have a seamless transfer from human resource service to the pension system. So an officer is serving as an officer. The moment you are transiting from human resource service to a pension. There should be a seamless transfer so that we eliminate this subjectivity, the human interference, where someone puts a file and waits for you to come and appear. There is no reason why Senator, people should come from Kitui, Homa Bay, Lodwar, etc. to Nairobi to follow up their pension. It should be done automatically and seamlessly. So that is why this system, which is the Pension Management Information System, will come in handy. We want to see how to integrate it with the payroll of the TSC so that the system picks the information of those who are retiring automatically and onboard them. If there are issues to be clarified, the system should have provisions for making sure that all this data is captured. So that would address that issue. The issue number 2, which again you are spot on, is on failure by those who are deducting, whether it is ministries, departments, agencies, or county governments. And I think the biggest culprit as of now has been the county government. Even the defunct local authorities. A lot of money was deducted and not remitted. And this is part of people's salary. Even monies that go to others for other statutory deductions. KRA, it is people's salary. They have earned it. Whether it is money you are saving in your circle, it is your money. So if the government, and my suggestion would be very radical, that if these agencies cannot remit the statutory deduction, then the best thing to do, Mr. Speaker, is to allow the national government to nationalize or centralize payment of salaries and then retain the money and pay to where it should go, and we only remit the funds that are not, that are for, to the bank for the employees to receive their salaries, and all the statutory deductions is withheld. It was assumed that paying agencies would be responsible enough to make sure that money that they deduct, they also remit. Why use part of people's salary to pay other bills? It doesn't make sense at all. And Honorable Senator Soti is right. Actually, my deputy party leader, you know, Mr. Speaker, I'm still a member of ODM. I'm only not an official. I'm still a proud member of the Orange Democratic Movement, and is my deputy party leader. We have, this system is supposed to be an integrated system. And we should even move a little further. That is a discussion that we are having, to integrate almost the entire financial management. Actually, IFMIS was meant to do that. But I think IFMIS probably came too early for its time. It is not keeping pace with the recent developments. We need to review that system, and my ministry is in the front line of reviewing IFMIS as a whole to ensure that we have an integrated financial management system that would capture all the data on all areas, so that by the click of the button, you can have a complete eye view of what is happening. I think I will end there, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to say that this system, which we want to be rolled out by end of this fiscal year, is at 40% in terms of development. So the rest of the 60%, we must fast track to ensure that we meet the deadline. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Honorable Senators, we will proceed to the last question this morning. Question number 96, which was raised by Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, and it will be asked by Senator Hezena, who is holding brief for Senator Tom Ojienda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the Honorable CS for Treasury and Economic Planning for finding it useful to attend these sessions. As it was stated earlier on, that the former CS has not been very cooperative as far as this issue is concerned. It also goes to show that I take a lot of pride in the fact that I share a profession with him and also the same party. And it only shows that ODM puts forward the best of the best, the creme de la creme, as far as brains is concerned. Thank you, Waziri. On behalf of the Senator for Kisumu County, Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, Senior Counsel, MP, I ask the following questions. Could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether the ministry undertook any public engagement on the necessity of the tax measures contained in the Finance Bill 2024, and also state any measures put in place to ensure future public engagements are adequate and meaningful to avert demonstrations similar to those witnessed in June, July, and August 2024? Secondly, has the government assessed the economic impact of the demonstrations in terms of loss of revenue, as well as the number and value of businesses and other properties that were vandalized and or looted? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary highlight the findings of the assessment? Thirdly, how has the economic disruption from the demonstrations, coupled with the downgrade of Kenya's credit rating, impacted the ability of Kenya to service her debts, and could the Cabinet Secretary explain to any steps taken to stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence, and stabilize the credit rating? Fourth, could the Cabinet Secretary also outline any measures put in place by the government to ensure greater transparency and accountability in taxation and government spending? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask Senator Lemetang for asking the questions on behalf of the Senator for Kisumu, and I will respond to the questions raised. This is the final question. The Senator of Kisumu wanted to know, or clarity from me, whether the ministry undertook any public engagement on the necessity of the tax measures contained in the Finance Bill of 2024, and also states any measures put in place to ensure future public engagements are adequate and meaningful to avert demonstrations similar to those witnessed in June, July, and August 2024. Mr. Speaker, my answer is as follows. The annual budgeting processes that are taken in consideration of public participation and constitutional requirement. Process leading to the preparation of the budget estimate for the financial year 2024-25 began with a public workshop to open sector hearings. During sector hearings for the spending in the financial year 2024-25, all stakeholders were invited to make submissions on priority areas that should receive exchequer funding. This informed the budget ceilings as contained in the Budget Policy Statement 2024 and the Fiscal Framework. The Budget Policy Statement for the financial year 24-25 informed the revenue requirements that the government needed to fund the budget. This in turn informed the revenue targets for the financial year 24-25 and the amount that needed to be raised through additional tax policy measures that were contained in the Finance Bill 2024. In terms of tax measures that were contained in the Finance Bill of 2024, the National Treasury started by issuing a public notice requesting for tax proposals that will be contained in the Finance Bill of 2024 way back in November 2023. Stakeholders responded to the public notice and submitted proposals. The National Treasury constituted a committee consisting of the National Treasury, the Kenya Revenue Authority, and the Attorney General's Office to review the proposals and make recommendation to the Cabinet Secretary. And during the review of the proposals, the committee invited stakeholders that submitted the proposals for meetings where the proposals were discussed and clarifications made to the committee. The meetings were held at the National Treasury building and was attended by the following stakeholders. We have a number of them. I may just mention a few. COCO, there is BAT, there is NIFCA, we had Ernst & Martin, Ernst & Young, these are professional audit firms. There's Kenya PricewaterhouseCoopers, stroke Safaricom, they came together. KEPSA was there, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Kenya Flower Council. We have KPMG, the International Institute for Legislative Affairs, Ongaya Ombo Advocates, Deloitte Johnson and Johnson's and Sons, ISPAC appeared, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum came, American Chambers of Commerce, Kenya Wine Agencies, Legal and Tax Associates, Kenya Breweries Limited, stroke UDV Kenya, Capital Markets Authority, Retirement Benefit Authority, Ministry of Investment and Trade Industry. Now, the reviewed proposals were then submitted to the Cabinet Secretary for consideration and approval. After approval, the proposals were used to develop the Finance Bill 2024. The National Treasury submitted to the National Assembly the Finance Bill 2024 for publication in the Kenya Gazette by 30th April and further public engagement on the bill. I just wanted to add onto this, Mr. Speaker, that because another part of the question was, what are we trying to do to avoid any future, to avert demonstrations similar to the ones that we witnessed? My ministry has embarked on a process of being more open and transparent on the steps and processes that we take, especially regarding proposals on taxation and such like initiatives. Recently, I think on 20th of last month, we had put out an advert inviting comments and opinions from the public, which is ending on 4th, that is this coming Friday. We want Kenyans to tell us a number of issues, to speak to us and tell us what we should do in order to manage our economy better in terms of public debt, in terms of taxation measures, and also in terms of what should we do in the event that the Parliament is not able to pass the two bills which are very critical for transfer of funds to the counties. So we have started engaging, and we also started the process of 2025-26 budget, preparation of the budget, and we launched it publicly at KICC. And I'm intending to have regular media briefings to just highlight and inform the public what we are intending to do. And listening to the public, will be able to carry forward only those proposals which would find favor with the majority of Kenyans. I want to end that submission on that particular aspect by saying that, unlike previously, my ministry will, going forward, be able to explain and publicly every proposal that we contain or carry in the finance bill. I think one of the biggest challenges that, or what faced the finance bill of 2024 was the fact that there was no proper communication from the National Treasury on these proposals, including the motor vehicle tax, which no one came out from the National Treasury to explain. I want to give a commitment that any proposal that we'll put forward to Parliament in terms of tax changes or any other financial issue will be properly explained. Number B, or the second issue, Mr. Speaker, and I will go through it very quickly, is how, as the government assessed the economic impact of the demonstration in terms of loss of revenue, as well as the number and value of businesses and other properties that were vandalized and or looted, and if so, could my office highlight the findings of the assessment? My response is as follows. The demonstrations affected businesses and industries. Mr. Speaker, in major cities, businesses were closed and some were destroyed. This affected revenue collection. The demonstrations led to the withdrawal of Finance Bill 2024, resulting in a revenue loss and therefore a financing gap of approximately 344.3 billion in the financial year 24-25. Mr. Speaker, in the month of July and August 2024, because you remember that we had demonstrations almost up to 8th August, I think that is the last demonstration that we saw. Ordinary revenue collection is lagging behind target by 18.5 billion. The total revenue collection, including ministerial appropriation in aid, for the period ending August 2024, that is for the 2 months, was 373.5 billion, which is 2.3% of GDP, against a target of 403.1 billion, recording a shortfall of 29.6 billion as shown in the table which I've provided, and I'll not read the table because it's a long one. So total revenue for the period grew by 6.3%, compared to a growth of 12.4% in the previous year, in August 2023, while ordinary revenue grew by only 3.2% if you compare to a growth rate of 9.9% in August of 2023. All the tax heads remained below respective targets. So I have provided the statistic that are on the table there on cumulative revenue performance by August 2024, as shown in millions. The below target performance in total revenue was on account of shortfall in ministerial A at 11.1%, 11.1 billion, and ordinary revenues, as I indicated earlier, of 18.5 billion. So under the ordinary revenue categories, import duty was below target by 845 million, excise taxes was below target by 4.9 billion, VAT was below target by 10.2 billion, income tax was below target by Kenya shillings at a tune of 3 billion shillings. The slower growth of ordinary revenue by 3.2% by August 2024, compared with a growth of 9% over the same period in 2023, demonstrate the impact of slower economic activity since June 2024. However, revenue performance is expected to bounce back going forward given the stability in the macroeconomic environment. Inflation rate is firmly under control currently at 4.4% in August 2024. Overall inflation, actually the latest data, what I signed off yesterday, is that our inflation has even come down to 3.6%, Mr. Speaker. This one is below the midpoint of the target, which is 5%, for 3 consecutive months. So if you look at month of June, July, and August, now the 4th month, we are below 5%. This is a drop from 6.7% in August 2023, and a peak of 9.6% in October 2022, when we had the worst inflationary pressures in this country. The pass-through effects of the strengthening exchange rate since February 2024 and the tight monetary policy stance by Central Bank of Kenya have supported the easing inflation. But we think now that the Central Bank or the CBK should start lowering a bit the interest rate so that we encourage the private sector to uptake more loan to create job opportunities, because again you may over control the base lending rate. So CBK had raised central bank rate to 13% to manage inflation expectation, but with inflation remaining low, the CBK lowered the central bank rate to 12.75% from 13%. And given that the federal rate has even gone down, we expect, I think it's on 10th, when CBK will release the new rates, then it should come down. In addition, favorable weather conditions coupled with targeted government interventions have also led to the reduction in the cost of food production, thereby lowering food inflation. So the other question, Mr. Speaker, was how has the economic disruption from the demonstrations coupled with the downgrade of Kenya's credit rating impacted the ability of Kenya to service her debts, and could the Cabinet Secretary explain any steps taken to stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence, and improve the credit rating? Here, Mr. Speaker, would state as follows, that the credit rating agencies downgraded our country during the peak of the demonstration and stated that the Kenya's fiscal debt will not be impacted. So measures that have been taken to stabilize the economy and restore investor confidence include the following. 1, the government has continued to invest in agricultural productivity to support economic growth, which is projected at 5.2% in 2024 and 5.4% in 2025. The latest report was that we grew at only 4.6%, but that was expected. In fact, we even expected a slower growth. But now with 4.6%, we are sure if the peace prevails, Mr. Speaker, and all other fundamentals remain constant, then we would be able to achieve the target of 5.2% in 2024 and move even to 5.5% in 2025. Number 2, ensuring macroeconomic stability with inflation remaining below 5%, target for 3 consecutive months, largely driven by easing food and fuel prices. Overall, inflation remained stable at 4.4% and 4.3% respectively in August and July, and I've added that in September it was 3.6%. Ensuring number 3 is ensuring stability of the exchange rate, which has created confidence and triggered influence of foreign direct investment and attracted investors to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I also want to add that our import cover is fairly healthy at about 4.6%. I mean 4.6 or monthly import cover. The other one is private investment will be supported by measures aimed at improving competitiveness, inclusivity, market efficiency, positive business sentiments, access to the international market, and projected foreign direct investment inflows. Investment will also policy reforms that include implementation of national tax policy and the medium-term revenue strategy. That will further strengthen tax revenue mobilization efforts to about 20%. In fact, we are focusing on 22% of GDP over the medium term. It's not something that is bullet. Currently, it is 14% of GDP. That is our tax revenue as a percentage of GDP. We want it to move forward. We are in the process, as we speak, of rolling out a system for Kenya Revenue Authority. We are also focusing on non-tax measures that MDS can raise through the services they offer to the public, e.g. Ministry of Lands, Immigration, and Citizen Services, among others. We are also strengthening tax administration for enhanced compliance through scaling up use of technology to seal the leakages that I've just said. We are also looking at state-owned enterprise reforms to generate savings, and also use of PPP to take out commercially viable projects from Exchequer. I know this is causing controversy at the moment, but Mr. Speaker, I want to just state that PPP as a concept is the way to go, to look for funding for major infrastructure projects, to take them off pressures on Exchequer. Kenya meets its debt obligations, Mr. Speaker, promptly, and no debt arrears have been accumulated. Public debt is projected to remain within sustainable levels on account of fiscal consolidation path that reflects decline in the ratio of debt to GDP in present value terms over the medium term. And to improve Kenya's debt sustainability and boost our credit rating position, the government will continue to implement measures to enhance growth of foreign exchange earnings by way of attracting direct foreign investment or foreign direct investment and pursuit of export promotion strategy. The last question, Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Kisumu wanted to know, and from me, that the Cabinet Secretary outline any measures put in place by the government to ensure greater transparency and accountability in taxation and government spending. Mr. Speaker, the following is my response. In order to ensure transparency, the National Treasury usually invites the members of the public to submit proposals that will help the government improve tax revenue policy and boost revenue collection. Number two, during the preparation of finance bill, the National Treasury usually invites every stakeholder that submitted a proposal to shed more light on the proposal. And number three, during consideration of a finance bill in the National Assembly, members of the public are usually given time to go through the bill and submit their comments or views via a memorandum to the Department Committee of Finance and National Planning for consideration during the committee stage. But Mr. Speaker, two quick issues on generally how to improve transparency and accountability. And when I appeared before the National Assembly Committee on vetting, or the Appointments Committee, I stated very clearly that we must roll out e-procurement to all national MDS and even county governments. Mr. Speaker, one of my first tasks when I joined the ministry was to find out the status and the position and where the e-procurement system, which is end-to-end system, was. And Mr. Speaker, I was surprised that what the bottleneck was the 560 million to roll out the system. And that is why we have kept on postponing the rollout of this system, which would help us make efficient our procurement system and remove possible collusion in the system. I want to report that I actually gave authority under Article 223 of the Constitution, which I'm allowed the Constitution, the powers given to me by the Constitution, to make 560 million available for this rollout, and the procurement is ongoing. That amount is not comparable to the amount that I think we are losing as a country in terms of systems that are not transparent for procurement. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we are working on rolling out a unified payroll system, because we have our fears. And in my discussion with UNDP, which has conducted research in some other countries. I will not mention the country, but they told me that there's a country, when they did audit of the payroll, they discovered that 17% of the workers who are in the payroll were actually not there. They are ghost workers. And I suspect that Kenya could even be worse. So we need to have a system that would root out and get out these ghost workers in our system, which is denying us resources that we need badly for development. And we will be targeting, starting with the Ministry of Education, where we have the biggest wage bill, TSC and the others, so that we can root out. When I was PAC chair, Mr. Speaker, we came across an instance where some teachers remained in the payroll for so many years, even after they were dead. So if dead teachers can remain in payroll, then chances are that non-existent teachers could find their way in the payroll. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Hezana, do you have any supplementary questions?
Mr. Speaker, I don't have any supplementary questions, only to and revamp that institution. I'm sure that you're going to be proudly celebrated across the whole country. And I hope the proceeds of the National Treasury, whatever comes down, trickles down to the community up north. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Eddie Okech, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the CS has presented a number of questions, actually, including just the last submission, the procurement of this E2E system that will ensure that there is some prudence in terms of the financial management in the country. You know, facing a lot of audit queries in the counties, we've had a number of concerns where sometimes the requests at COB are always having no coherence with the audit reports of the Auditor General, which means that the financial system, there must be some voiding that is happening. So my question is, Bwana CS, actually it's a two-pronged question because of the audit function, or rather the oversight function of the Senate. Is there an impact assessment report on this system in terms of just projecting its effectiveness that we can be able to access as a House, to be able to anticipate how that system would work in terms of arresting this, what I might call leakages and wastages in terms of financial flow? And is there a chance that the Treasury can be able to give senators access to the end side of this system when it comes alive? Because currently, senators have not had interaction with IFMIS system, so that if there is any voiding in the system, both IB and IFMIS, sometimes it's very difficult for senators to be able to understand where the voiding is happening. That gives controversy or variances between payments that are made at COB level and the payments that are requested at COB levels and the finally audited reports by the Auditor General. So just want to know the case for impact of this system, if there's any report, preliminary report with regards to anticipation, and then two, how would a House like the Senate that is doing oversight interact with that system in terms of being able to ensure a proper bird's eye view position on the payments that happen at a county level?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, and with a very generous comments from the senator and the senators. I want to thank the House. But let me address the issues raised by Edu Kech on procurement, the E2E system, and the audit queries, and the impact, in fact, particularly on the impact assessment. Yes, there is impact assessment. Maybe if need be, we may make available the information regarding how much we are likely even to save as a country in terms of if we use this system. But again, your guess is as good as mine. As a country, we all know that by breaking down the procurement system, where the budget does not speak to procurement, it does not also speak to the cash payment, and it does not speak to use of goods and services. If we can have a system where from budget to procurement to payment and finally to use of goods and services integrated in a way that you can have, if I may borrow your word, an eye view or a bird's eye view of what is happening, then we would save quite a lot that we would have otherwise wasted. So if need be, we may provide the information on the impact assessment and even what we are likely to save. In terms of giving senators a chance to engage with the system, yes, I know that these are public records, public systems. But again, Mr. Speaker, we have to be a little careful here because, one, we know that the Auditor General has full access to the system, and senators and members of the National Assembly, as oversighting institution, engage a lot with the reports of the Auditor General, which office we give resources to be able to interrogate and engage with the system and see the efficiency and efficacy of the system. So we must be careful on the level of involvement of the senators, because again, then the separation of power or responsibilities come to play. We don't want to get our senators in the murky waters of implementation because you are supposed to start to be somewhere in terms of oversighting, not just how money is spent, but even the systems through which they are spent. So if we engage our legislators to also be like part of the system interacting with the system, there must be a dichotomy. There must be where they reach. But I agree with you that senators need to understand this system. I also used to complain a lot when I was in the National Assembly about IFMIS, because you just hear about upgrade, everyday upgrade. But then you ask, what is this IFMIS, which someone can just switch off and on at will? So I think general understanding of how these systems operate is desirable, and that can be dealt with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Senators, we have reached the end of the question and answers. Cabinet Secretary, Honorable CPA John Mbadi, let me also take this opportunity to congratulate you for your new appointment as the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Economic Planning, and to wish you all the best in your new role, and to also thank you for appearing today and for having given a very detailed response to the questions raised by the Senator. At this point in time, Cabinet Secretary, we shall give you leave, and all the best. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Accra, Ghana from 30th September to 6th October 2023. Resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 25th September 2024 at the morning sitting.
Mover, you may reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. May I start by thanking the members who contributed to this motion. Mr. Speaker, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference is a very important occasion for members of the Commonwealth to discuss many, many issues on governance, democracy, status of the various countries, and I'm very happy that the members have captured this also in their discussions. I did mention that out of a presentation from the leader of delegation from Kenya, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, a proposal was put forward, which we think will be accepted by many members, that we actually transform the Commonwealth Association, Parliamentarians Association to be a parliamentary organization that can do more than what it is doing now, and I have no doubt it will happen. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to add more because members contributed very well. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I beg to move and request that you defer the putting of the question to a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. We shall defer putting the question to tomorrow. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report of the 9th Interparliamentary Global Conference of Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam, from 15th to 17th September 2023.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, report of the 147th Assembly of the IPU and related meetings held in Luanda, Angola on 23rd to 27th October 2023.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, report of the Kenya delegation to the extraordinary session of the 6th PAP held at Gallagher Convention Center in Midrand, South Africa from 20th to 27th March 2024.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, report of the Kenya delegation to the 148th IPU and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 13, motion, report of the 14th session of the Conference of Inter-Great Lakes Region held in Livingstone, Zambia from 15th to 19th April 2024.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 14, motion, report of the parliamentary delegation to the 2024 Joint United Nations IPU hearing held at the United Nations headquarters in New York, United States from 8th to 9th February 2024.
Deferred. Next order.
Order number 15, motion, stoppage of funds to Isiolo County due to the failure by governor to honor Senate summonses.
Deferred. Next order. Oh, very well. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 2nd October 2024 at 2:30 p.m.